Hello, how's it going? Karl Lobst has dropped a 1 hour 53-minute video. I don't know how much of this we're gonna watch, but I'm interested. I'm interested. Particularly because of things I've heard people say about it. How likely am I to ever eat peppermint again? Oh yeah, I didn't stream yesterday because I was not doing okay. I was in gastric torment. I think because it happened like twice in the last week and over a few days. I think I just like ate something diseased. I think it was just like a stomach bug. I think that's all it was. I don't think I ate too much. That was my original theory, but then it kept happening. But I seem to be fine now. I bought some Yakult. El Cassiai Immunitas Shirota, whatever. The drink that has that Japanese man in it. You know the one in all the ads? The Japanese man has put himself in this drink. It's good for your guts.
My God.
Thank you very
Tim's
much.
bowels plopsed.
I also got some of those homeopathic sleeping pills, or whatever. Calms, valerian root. It knocked me the fuck out. I don't know if it was placebo effect, but it worked. Yeah. Maybe Sangran became your friend? I don't have cancer. But if he becomes your friend, you probably do. Like, that's one of the diagnostic criteria. In Australia, at least. All of Karl's assets are at the mercy of his wife, and he is bankrupt, but he still won somehow. I mean, if his wife loves him, he's safe. My girlfriend buys me things because she loves me, not because I got sued by a Donkey Kong gamer. I win. Nah, valerian root has drugs in it, mate. I remember the part of The Sopranos where what's-his-name and his drug addict girlfriend were like, oh, I'm sleepy, oh, I can't sleep. Well, just get valerian root. Chris, yes, little Chris. Just get some valerian root extract pills. You know, like 10 of those is like a Valium. And then, of course, they were doing hard drugs again. You have a very good gut biome. A doctor offered to literally buy your shit. The bot on Twitter is not really a doctor. The worst scam at the moment, scam spam. I was getting all these Bitcoin spam bots in my messages. Now I have like 10 messages in a row in my message requests that say, doctors told me cancer is incurable. I've decided to travel alone and bid farewell to this world in silence. And then they're like, just go to this weird fucking website and put these details in. 10 different accounts sending the same stuff. That's like, I get the idea that you want to filter out people who are too smart, but I feel like a dozen bots hitting the same person is gonna filter everyone. Gonna filter literally everyone. Right? Who's fallen for that? No one. The people who will fall for that don't have any money. Karl is so annoyed about this. I mean, like, that's fair. I'd be annoyed as fuck if I got sued and lost as well. Let's be real, you would be as well, right? I can't believe Karl's so mad. Yeah? Makes sense. Doesn't it? Oh. They filter out all the smart people and now they're left with Twitch streamers. Luckily I stream on other websites as well. But I will not direct you to them because I'll get banned. Thank you for the super chat.
At Zeke Build Slow fed the streamer $2 superberry. So sad Karl Lobson now has to get a Karl Jobst.
Jobst? You got fucked over by the text-to-speech, but thank you. Just, like, you should have as many jobs as possible. You should have as many jobs as possible. I'm I don't want to self-dox. But I'm always looking for like little extra earning opportunities. Because although YouTube is a major and at the moment even primary chunk of my income, more money, less problems. More money, less problems. And YouTube doesn't actually take very much time at all. Ooh. Nothing exciting. I'm just working on some, let's say, working on getting involved with some, let's call it specialist warehouse operative work. That means hauling shit around in a warehouse, but special stuff in a special way. So you get more money. Oh, I am not a gigolo. I am not a gigolo. You calling it a project for the longest time? Oh no, that's something else. Do you mean the food project? The food channel project? That's just another thing I do for fun until I start making money. And then it'll be for more than just fun. By the way, before we start watching this, I'm still giving, it's been 10 minutes, but I'm giving people time to filter in. I'm only a few subs away on the food channel from getting the first tier of monetization, by the way. Not a forklift driver. I'm 7 subs away from getting the first level of monetization. Let's go. You break into people's packages? No, it's just moving around a particular kind of cargo. I'm making it sound like I'm a drug mule. Yeah, what the fuck? It's nothing so special. I'm just not saying what it is so that people won't be able to like fucking find me. Oh. It's nothing exciting and it is literally just warehouse work.
Streamer $2 Superberry. In my dream I watched Karl grape himself.
I don't know, I think you need to figure out what part of you made you dream that and burn it out. And burn it out to yourself. I could make it worse. I could say, hey, this warehouse work is going to be real cool. It's a special cargo and I'm probably going to have to fly for it. I sound like a fucking drug criminal. What am I fucking...
Smartphone durability review channel.
Smartphone durability review channel? If I win the lottery, sure.
I totally under 712 fed the streamer $2 Superberry. I'm bleeding, making me the victor.
Is that really what he's gonna pull? I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I'm happy to just have my OnePlus Nord 2T. Camera's pretty sick. One day I'm gonna commit and get one of the top end iPhones, just for how good it is for filming shit. But anyway, I was gonna get the Osmo 3 Pocket by DJI. But apparently the digital stabilization, the software stabilization in the iPhone is so good that I don't care about having a gimbal, having watched examples. But anyway, my final lawsuit update. Karl Jobst, 1 hour 53 minutes. We are not watching this at 1x speed.
Hello, you
Hello, you aboriginals.
Hello, you absolute legends.
Just work on the volume.
This is it. This is the end of an era. This is hopefully the...
Alright. We've got on volume there. There is a description. Too long, didn't watch. 1, I am an idiot. 2, Billy lost $500,000. 3, none of the money this channel earns goes to Billy. 4, Billy is a moron. 5, the GoFundMe was not a scam. It may well not have been, I don't know. Wasn't there more than one? I'm sure he'll address it all. But my ears prick up when someone has a list and number 5 is, I did not scam you. Makes me a bit... puts me on edge. 6, Billy is a lying conman. 7, Billy is a lying conman. He steals his audience peth. 7, Billy does not stand on things to make himself look taller. 8, slop tubers are the worst. Alright, let's go. I can't deny the last one.
Hello, you...
The number of people who are like, harmful, don't talk about politics, whatever you do. What the... You have no idea who the fuck I am. Why are you giving me advice? Anyway.
Hello, you absolute legends. This is it. This is the end of an era. This is hopefully the last video I make concerning my lawsuit or even Billy Mitchell. When I made my previous video regarding the result of the lawsuit, I was still actively looking into appealing the decision, which meant going back into court was a real possibility. And for that reason, unfortunately, I couldn't really say everything I wanted to say. And I also couldn't take as much accountability as I really wanted to because it may have hurt my case. But ultimately, I did not end up...
It may be true that there were things you couldn't say, but you didn't have to say the things you did say.
Appealing the decision, so everything is now final and I am able to...
It was scuffed as fuck. My memory is that it came off scuffed as fuck.
...to comment freely. In the last 2 months, a lot has been going on behind the scenes as a result of the decision, and in this video...
I'll turn it down to 1.25. 1.5 is a bit too much.
I'm going to tell you everything. Regardless of whether or not you care about the lawsuit or Billy Mitchell, there are important questions that I think supporters of me or this channel deserve to know. For example, does any of the money this channel earns go to Billy? Exactly how much money do I owe Billy? How much money will Billy actually get? Will Billy's win inspire even more lawsuits? These questions will be answered and many more.
I mean, according to Billy Mitchell's Twitter account, pretty much everyone and their dog will be sued. And you know, he's won a lawsuit. So I trust him.
There have been hundreds of videos made about me in the past few months, and thousands upon thousands of comments. Yet, I haven't seen or heard a single person talk about what is really going on accurately, which is totally understandable, because this is a very complex situation, and it is frankly impossible for anyone to know what is happening, because you would need to be an expert in Australian law, you would need to know my exact financial position and what I own and how I run my business, and you would also need to be an expert on Australian bankruptcy law. Basically, you would need to be...
You fucking dipshits talking about me? You don't know a single thing about bankruptcy, you idiot. It's not like... It's not as Chad a thing to say as he seems to want to present it as.
My lawyer, and I'm pretty sure most of you out there aren't. That's not your fault. But rather than having 100 videos speculating or even proclaiming things as fact that couldn't be further from the truth, I'm just going to lay everything out there. I know a lot of people are curious about what is happening, and I am more than happy to provide you with everything you would like to know, especially given that many people aren't happy with how I wasn't clear enough during the lawsuit. So now everyone will know everything, and then I am happy to move on forever. For the past 4 years, I have been in denial. Billy's lawsuit against me alleged that I accused Billy of being a major contributing factor in Apollo Legends' decision to take his own life, and I have always denied that. But
for the past 4 years, I've been in fucking denial. Okay.
Both in my legal defense and publicly. I would pick apart the exact words that I used and argued that I never technically said that. And if anyone did come away from my statements with the impression that Billy was in some way responsible, then it was their fault for adding meaning to my words that weren't there. I didn't want to believe I implied what the lawsuit accused me of implying for two main reasons. Firstly, it would have been terrible for my defense if it were true and the thought of losing the lawsuit was something I couldn't bear to deal with. And secondly, it's a disgusting and terrible thing to imply, regardless of whether or not I believed what I said to...
The way he argued that he never really said that in the previous video I saw, the way he argued that that inference isn't reasonable, that he never implied it. I don't believe this story of I was in denial. I didn't think it was possible it could be taken that way. It would mean I could lose the lawsuit. I couldn't face it. I don't believe it.
Be true at the time, which I did, and even if the facts I presented were correct, which was that Apollo had to pay a large sum of money in his settlement which put him into debt, I still had no justification for making the connection between Billy and Apollo's suicide. Apollo never suggested it himself, and the evidence doesn't point to it. I held on to the belief that I did not make that claim all the way through the lawsuit, and even after the judge's verdict, which ruled that I did make that claim, I refused to accept it. I was fully intending on appealing, and referred my case to a much more experienced and much more expensive lawyer for his opinion. And I fully expected him to confirm
should have gone there first.
My belief and tell me that the judge was wrong. But he didn't. He told me that I did imply that, and it was defamatory. And in
how much did you spend to seek that opinion?
fact, he outright refused to appeal the decision, even though I wanted to, because
Oh no! Oh. hire cheap, lose your lawsuit twice. What's the... I want a hiring a lawyer equivalent of buy cheap, buy twice. Should have gone to the more fucking experienced one first, dog. If you were gonna end up... If there's a possibility of you losing, and something you might do when you lose is pursue an appeal with a more experienced lawyer, go there first. Spend more first.
Simply had no
In my opinion.
case. Now that the lawsuit has been over for a couple of months, and I no longer have a vested interest in being correct, it has allowed me to finally accept that in this instance, Billy wasn't lying and his lawsuit against me was not unjustified. I defamed Billy. My actions were unacceptable, and that's why he...
Guys, I only act like this. Right. Now that it no longer benefits me to maintain this, finally I'm released and able to see it. Stop.
1. Now, to be clear, this doesn't mean that Billy didn't also lie a lot, even in court. And it doesn't mean I actually caused him hundreds of thousands of dollars in damages like the judge asserted. And it doesn't mean I didn't also have a valid defense that I could have possibly won on. But just in principle,
I have no vested interest in being correct is a very wild sentence to say. Yeah, because now you've just laid out that if it could hurt you in any way to admit something's wrong, you won't. You could argue that if it's up to the point of getting sued, he'll cling on to it, but now it's like weird as hell.
I was at fault. My actions were wrong, and to be quite honest, after the dust has settled, I now personally believe I should have lost the lawsuit. However, I still think the damages awarded were far, far too high. Hopefully this result can have a positive impact on the broader...
To be fair, I'm sure I would as well. I get sued for something and lose. Look, man, I messed up, but honestly, it should have just been like $50. I can empathize.
community by forcing people to think twice about making claims about things they aren't privy to or have very good evidence for. I can certainly tell you that for me personally, though it was a very expensive and tough lesson to learn, my channel and my investigative work improved.
So, Corey Renfro 300 says you'd have to be a retard to admit to anything during an ongoing lawsuit. He didn't have to admit to anything. The problem is that he didn't just say nothing. He tried to convince us that he was right. He actively said things. The problem is not that he didn't say I was wrong. Of course that would be retarded. The problem is that he decided to say to his audience, to the public, these things.
Dramatically after I got sued, and in the long run, it would have been a very worthwhile...
He could have just fucking not said it.
Experience for me to have gone through. In saying that, I have allowed my feelings towards Billy negatively affect my judgment at every step of the way. I think Billy is a terrible person. I think he sues innocent people. I think he is a cheater and a compulsive...
But not you, right?
...liar. But that does not...
I'm aware Billy's got a reputation for being litigious, right? It's not just Karl?
It's been just over...
Oh, the accounting and YouTube thing, okay. I don't know if I'm interested in that.
Not mean I can say and do whatever I want in response. Two wrongs don't make a right. Billy can lie all he wants, but I shouldn't let his actions affect my own moral compass. And once I realized I was wrong back in 2021, my retraction should have been far better. Again, at the time, I was in denial and I didn't want to believe my mistake was that severe, so I felt as though making a retraction at all was sufficient. And
is that the fucking Dark Souls one?
my retraction should have been far better. Again...
So, he says he realized he was wrong in 2021. And in the recent video, he was trying to fucking convince us what he said wasn't wrong. So he has absolutely tried like manipulation of the public. When he didn't have to say I'm fucking wrong, everything's fucking wrong, I'm a fuck up, whatever. He didn't have to say anything that would endanger him. But he certainly didn't have to try and convince people of something that he knew wasn't right.
At the time, I was in denial and I didn't want to believe my mistake was
He could have just not said that shit.
that severe, so I felt as though making a retraction at all was sufficient, and I really did want the video with the retraction in it to get a lot of views.
Fuck off! It was at the end of a fucking Dark Souls video.
But it really should have been its own video, and not placed at the end of a separate video. I don't think all
This is bullshitting. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. He's bullshitting.
retractions need to be in a separate video, but considering the severity of my mistake, which I now acknowledge,
It may not have even needed to be. One could argue that, let's say you have like a video you know a lot of people are going to watch, and you put that at the front. If you put it at the front even, maybe I'd believe you. Because then you're basically baiting people into seeing your retraction, like making sure it's seen. Putting it at the fucking end of a video? You've got access to your analytics. You know how many people don't even reach that point. This is slime. This is slime. This is slimy.
in hindsight, it really should have been its own video. Even the retraction itself wasn't very good either. I only apologized for making a factual error about the details of the settlement, and I just denied—
Like, if Karl Jobs doesn't understand that, or didn't at the time, that's like a level of, like, you have Down syndrome. Like, that's not a mistake, the kind of which maybe I have made. Okay, I have made Russian things or whatever. That's like you've had multiple years now to think about it, and the way you're describing the issue with it suggests to me you either don't understand how retarded that was, or want to make sure as few people as possible understand how retarded that was.
there were any further more serious implications, and I also took the opportunity to continue to criticize Billy while I was at it. In Billy's response video, he said that I was accusing him of murder, which is of course hyperbolic and ridiculous, so that also made me less inclined to make a proper retraction, which again is wrong. Billy is always going to say stupid shit. It shouldn't affect my own actions. I made a mistake, I wronged Billy, so I should have owned up to it completely and with integrity. I also completely mishandled the—
For me, the like, Billy Mitchell's gonna fucking take your shoes shit is a bit of a meme.
way I communicated to the public.
Don't think because I have problems with some of the things Karl's saying that I'm like just 100% on board with Billy Mitchell in every way, okay?
In regards to the lawsuit. Obviously, I was intentionally choosing not to disclose what the lawsuit was about. I even said this multiple times, so it wasn't exactly a secret. What the law did to the public in regards to the lawsuit. Obviously, I was intentionally choosing not to disclose what the lawsuit was about. I even said this multiple times, so it wasn't exactly a secret.
Stop. You didn't just say you weren't telling the full details. You said that combined with hints about, oh, this is going to be very important, that's going to be very important. It's another thing where it's like, you could have just said, I'm not going into detail. That would have been one thing. You said you avoided going into details, but then sprinkled little hints. You gave people one of those fucking pictures where there are a bunch of dots and numbers so that they could draw the lines themselves.
Normally, I'd give you a full breakdown of this kind of thing, but because this one involves me, I'm going to keep my cards a lot closer to my chest. What I will tell you is that I am being sued for defamation, and the amount of damages being sought is $450,000. I will definitely be giving you updates as we go, but I don't want to give out too many details or strategies before I use them in court. Billy Mitchell is referring to the YouTuber Apollo Legend, who tragically took his own life in December of 2020. I won't go into specifics about this particular point because it does relate to his ongoing lawsuit against me. I didn't want to talk about it because what I said was wrong, and I was afraid to repeat it. However,
Karl, you're not including the part where you said, what was it? God, what was the thing he said was going to be very important in the case? There was some fucking thing he said would be very important to the case.
if I didn't want to make it clear to everyone exactly what the lawsuit was about, I shouldn't have turned it into this giant public spectacle. The truth is, I did want as many people to know about the lawsuit as possible because I legitimately thought I had a good chance of winning. I was not willing to concede on—
Yeah, I could just search it, Siffy. I'm sure. I think he said very important. I think that's the quote. It might not be the quote. Yeah, he said that phrase a lot. He said that phrase a lot, and I'm not seeing it. What if I search defense? Okay. Reusing my defense, something defense. Draft a new defense. I don't think I'm going to find it here. I don't think I'm going to find it. There was some shit he said it was going to be key. I think it was the thing about the cheating. He said he was talking about some detail about the cheating, and he was like, "This will be key in my fucking defense or whatever. This is going to be key to the lawsuit." Some shit like that.
Any issues whatsoever, or entertain the opposite viewpoint. To put it bluntly,
highly relevant. Was that the one? Let me see that quote. Let me search it. Like my hairstyle? I'm not seeing highly relevant hits on Filmit.
I was deluded. It's very easy to see this now, after the fact. However, it would be very difficult for many people to understand what it is like to be a defendant in a lawsuit, let alone one that was this complex. Again, just because I made a mistake in what I said originally, that doesn't mean Billy automatically wins. Defamation cases aren't that simple. I don't blame myself for fighting as hard as I did, or believing that I would win, because I think that is a pretty natural tendency for most people to have in my position. But
it's natural. You gotta understand that everything I did was natural.
I had way too much hubris. I took a huge gamble and it backfired.
You need to have just a little bit of hubris. Just a little bit of a god complex.
Now, I look like an idiot. The situation was pretty crazy though, and is definitely not something you can prepare for psychologically or emotionally until it happens. The entire lawsuit was extremely stressful, and I was trying to deal with it in the bravest way possible.
Wait, what?
The entire lawsuit was extremely stressful, and I was trying to deal with it in the bravest way possible.
I was dealing with it in the bravest way. I was trying to deal with it in the bravest way possible. I've never fucking heard anyone talk about themselves like that.
Even though I thought I would win, that didn't make the ordeal any less stressful or tormenting, because you never know for sure what's going to happen. I never personally lied about what the lawsuit was about, but I was obviously negligent in some way, given how many people had the wrong impression.
No. I have no idea how I could have misled you, but obviously I did. Fuck off. Fuck off. You didn't include that fucking clip where you were talking about something that was going to be highly relevant to the lawsuit. You just told us, oh, you didn't include too many details. You brought up Apollo once, sort of. You called something else highly relevant or highly important to your defense or highly important to the lawsuit. You're painting a different picture and then being like, I don't understand. What's going on? You can't make the videos you do, dissecting things as well as you do, and pretend you don't fucking understand this. Yes, you do.
My most egregious...
Like, you're not being sued by your audience. You can just be honest with them. You're not going to lose any money.
Error was showing news articles about the lawsuit and a news clip which were incorrectly reporting on the lawsuit. I thought it made for good content, and it was interesting to see what the news was saying, so that's why I wanted to show it. But I either shouldn't have shown what the news was saying at all, or I should have specifically clarified that it was incorrect if I did. And to be clear, I did not search out incorrect reporting to intentionally mislead people. Clearly, showing a clip and not correcting it is misleading, and I fully appreciate how wrong that is now, but...
This is better. This is better.
But at the time, there was simply no correct reporting on the lawsuit whatsoever. Everyone was reporting on it wrong. I wanted to show what the news was saying, but every single news article or post about it was wrong. I wasn't trying to do something nefarious, it was just stupid and thoughtless.
I wasn't trying to do something nefarious, I just got fucking lucky. I've seen how you look at other people's shit. I don't believe you don't have the ability to do it for your own stuff and things talking about yourself.
And I didn't give my audience enough consideration or respect to make sure they weren't confused. And for that, I am deeply sorry. Now, let's talk about money. The total amount of damages plus interest in the judgment of the lawsuit was $390,000. In this video, I'm going to be using Australian dollars, but whenever I mention a figure, I will also place the amount in US dollars in the top right of the screen to make things easier for those
Nice, 420.
in the US. The judgment isn't all that I would need to pay, however. In Australian courts, in almost all circumstances, the loser must pay the winner a percentage of their legal fees. Finding out exactly how much I would have needed to pay could have also been a lengthy and expensive process, which would have involved even more court hearings and more legal fees. So to make things easy, my lawyers reached out to Billy's lawyers to confirm how much they spent and how much they would be willing to accept. According to Billy's lawyers, he incurred costs of $686,000, and he would agree to a payment of $600,000 without the need for any further hearings. And I accepted this proposal, which meant that my total debt to Billy was $990,000. However, I do not have $990,000. In fact, I have no money. My total legal fees were around the same as Billy's, and while the public and especially Notch were very generous to me, I still had to spend at least $150,000 of my own money to cover them, and despite what Billy seems to believe, I am not rich. Therefore, because I could not cover the judgment debt, I filed for voluntary bankruptcy on the 9th of May. The entity that administers the bankruptcy is called the trustee, and it's the job of the trustee to take possession of any assets or property they are legally allowed to possess and realize their value, which simply means they take what they are allowed to take and they sell it for money, which they can then give to creditors, with creditors being the people you owe money to. As part of the bankruptcy process, the trustee conducted a thorough investigation of my financial position. I had to give them all of my bank statements and company records going back over 4 years, which was well before I was even sued. The purpose of this investigation was to uncover any assets that they can possess and ensure that I haven't done anything dodgy. For example, to make sure I didn't secretly sell or give some property to a family member to hide it, or something similar. If I did do that, they'd be able to reverse that transaction, and if I lied about it to try and hide it, that would—
Look how much fucking detail he's able to go into when it's something that benefits him to be clear about. Look how effortless it is, like a fish in water. Fucked up news coverage, though, that you know, is to his favor not to dissect. Weird.
Be committing a crime. On the 6th of June, the trustee issued a full report to my creditors, including Billy, outlining their findings and outlining how they have conducted the bankruptcy so far. So in this part of the video, I will be including screenshots directly from their report to confirm the legitimacy of what I'm saying. My bankruptcy was a relatively simple one. Firstly, I don't have any cash. I was asked to provide statements for all of my bank accounts, which I did.
The bankrupt Miss Wong. Sounds like a boss in a video game. That shit pops up on screen and then a health bar fills them.
But the trustee even did their own independent search with all major banks, and the small amount of cash—
I'm not an accountant. What the fuck do you mean total cash at bank $1,815?
I do have, I was allowed—
Oh, this is just an example. This is just an example page,
to keep for living expenses. And before I go on, some of you may be wondering how spouses are treated in bankruptcy. And in Australia, a spouse is not liable in any way.
It's a sample page. I was like, what the fuck?
And anything my wife owns cannot be touched unless it is jointly owned between the two of us. Along with my wife, I own 2 properties. In 2015, we purchased a—
Wait, that was censored. No, this is the actual stuff? Wait, I'm losing my fucking mind. What was that $1,800 shit? That's all he had in the bank? What the fuck?
a small townhouse valued at $350,000, and then after we started a family, we upgraded to a larger family home valued at $1.2 million. Of course, this doesn't mean we paid that amount of money to own these properties. For our townhouse, we put down a $60,000 deposit, and the rest was covered by a mortgage. By 2022, the value of the townhouse had gone up slightly, and thus we were able to remortgage the property and withdraw the extra equity to put a deposit down on our new house. And it was a 10% deposit. So while the house was worth $1.2 million, we only needed to raise just just over $100,000 to buy it. As part of the bankruptcy investigation, a valuation was conducted on our properties. At the time I filed for bankruptcy, my townhouse had increased in value to $635,000, and my current house had risen in value to $1.35 million. The total value of the two properties being almost $2 million. However, the total amount of the mortgages equals $1.4 million. Therefore, the actual equity that we own in both properties is just under $600,000.
Gotcha.
In the event that someone goes bankrupt and they jointly own a property, the trustee will first allow the co-owner who is not bankrupt to purchase the bankrupt share. If you go to the Australian government website, it states, where the co-owner is not bankrupt and the realization of the property will provide a return to the estate, the co-owner is to be invited in the first instance to make an offer to purchase the trustee's right, title, and interest. And the key wording here is in the first instance, which means before anything else, which is...
Could he just fucking sell it to his wife for $1 or something? Is this one of those situations?
Exactly what happened. As per the trustee's report, it states, on appointment, Miss Wong put forward a without prejudice offer to purchase the trustee's interest in the properties, whereby, inter alia, Miss Wong would pay the bankrupt estate an amount totaling $224,000. Based on the following, we accepted Miss Wong's offer. On the information at hand, Miss Wong had credible and likely perspective of establishing at least a 50% interest in the properties, and Miss Wong's offer was made from externally sourced funding, which the trustees held no claim or vested interest in. The offer was quite a bit less than the real value of my equity, because for the trustee to sell...
I'm not an accountant. Don't look to me to say anything of meaning about any of this. Don't listen to me.
The properties on the open market, it would cost a lot of money, and those costs come out of the money they would have received from the realization of the property. This isn't paid for by the bankrupt themselves. They would first have to get a court order to sell it, pay for an agent, pay for marketing, and many other costs. And they took all of this into consideration and accepted the offer. On 29 May 2025, Miss Wong and the trustees executed a deed of settlement and release. There will be no further recoveries from this source. And the report confirms they did receive this money. So as of right now, my wife owns both properties and they can no longer be touched, which is of course fantastic news. If my wife...
$1.99 Superberry. Is Karl vying for our sympathy? Feels like TMI.
No, he's explaining why I presume Billy isn't getting shit. Because he made absolutely sure he doesn't have shit for Billy to take. I need art of like Billy and Karl fighting over playhouses and Karl's wife going, neither of you can have it. Stop fighting.
Couldn't source the funds to buy out my share, the trustee would have forced us to sell the properties, which would have been terrible. This idea of the joint owner being allowed to buy out the bankrupt share is basic Australian bankruptcy law. But let's take a look at how this was presented on Reddit and YouTube. In my Discord, I was explaining that my wife...
Reddit and fucking what?
But let's take a look at how this was presented on Reddit and YouTube. In my Discord...
He full on said it. That's not a miss here.
Australian bankruptcy law. But let's take a look at how this was presented on Reddit and YouTube. In my Discord, I was explaining that my wife will buy out my properties, and I had a very open conversation about it to a few people, and I thought nothing of it at the time. But the next thing I know, my comments about my wife buying out my property were posted to Reddit, saying that I was boasting about moving assets to my wife before declaring bankruptcy to avoid paying creditors, which of course is not what I said at all. And the comments were all claiming that I was bragging about committing fraud.
I didn't see any of this shit.
And that I'm a criminal. I'm surprised to learn how many Australian bankruptcy lawyers there are on r/YouTube drama. To be clear, the moment I went...
You're fucking bankrupt. Shut the fuck up. Redditors win, idiot. Billy won. Redditors win. I may be bankrupt, but at least I'm not wrong on Reddit. Not a position to be fucking snarky from.
Bankrupt, the trustee took possession of my share of the properties. My wife bought out my shares of the properties from the trustee. The money the trustee receives is then given to the people that I owe money to. On YouTube, things weren't any better. LUS is a channel that claims to be a lawyer, and just like Reddit, he was calling me a criminal because he doesn't understand basic Australian bankruptcy law.
Karl Jobs and the...
You may change that Billy won. I'm aware, because people were talking about it, that Billy's ultimately lost money. He still won. He still wins.
other hand, we are going to talk.
I don't have any financial connection to this. To me, this is a drama between people on the fucking internet, and it's down to... It's like... It's as serious as a TV show to me.
Saved the best statement for last. Because in my opinion, if this is real, if he was sued, he lost, Then he had his wife buy his equity in a home so he doesn't pay Billy Mitchell, and he's admitting so on Discord. We are crossing the line of criminal
LUS
right now. We need to send these to the bankruptcy court. We need to send this video to the bankruptcy court. I need to get in touch with the bankruptcy court and let them know what's going on. Because if this is real, and this is not sarcasm, there are many things like Karl said that he could end up in jail. Forget owing a bunch of money. What Karl was doing, trying to hide assets, is actually criminal.
And he and his followers actually did report me to the Australian government. I know this because the bankruptcy trustee told me. But of course, nothing happened because I didn't do anything wrong, and everything that I explained can be found in 2 seconds on the Australian government website. I would like to give these people the benefit of the doubt though, and I don't think they were all acting in bad faith. When I covered the completionist, I also recommended that people should report the charity to the relevant authorities. So I don't blame anyone for that, and it would be extremely hypocritical for me to chastise someone for reporting what they believe to be a crime. But of course,
True, it would be.
Of course, it does upset me to see so many people believe misinformation, whether intentional or not, and to then use that misinformation to form such a terrible opinion of me. At least when I made my videos on the completionist, they weren't just based on a few Discord messages. In my completionist videos, I contacted the charity to get further confirmation. I checked all of the tax documents. I even reached out proactively to some ordinary gamers to work with him to make sure that I wouldn't make any.
So what is this? Who is the guy who made the video? Is it like fucking just some guy on YouTube? What I'm reading this like is, look how much better I am than this guy who fucked up about me.
Errors that I might have made if I did everything myself. The idea of just looking at a Discord message and thinking that says anything about reality is pretty ridiculous, and it's kind of shocking that people actually take these things seriously. The only other asset that the trustee took possession of is my share of the company that runs this YouTube channel. Most YouTubers of my size will create a company for their YouTube channel, so the money earned by this channel doesn't go to me directly. It goes to the company. So this answers the question of whether or not the money earned by this channel goes to Billy. No, it doesn't. Billy...
You know what I don't like? The UK equivalent of a limited liability company is just called a fucking limited company. It sounds like a special needs company. Limited company.
Did not sue the company, nor does he have any ownership or interest in it. Billy can only take money from me as an individual, and only if I earn over a certain amount, which I will explain in a moment. The company was jointly owned.
Oh, I'm gonna open up a challenged proprietorship.
By me and my wife, and as with my properties, with my wife being the co-owner, she was invited by the trustee to purchase my share. On the 24th of June, my wife made an offer to purchase my share for $2,000, and on the 6th of August, the trustee accepted her offer. So as of right now, my wife has total ownership of the company that owns this channel. So neither...
And I can use that $2,000 to get chicken tenders for the next year.
Billy nor the trustee has any claim over it or its earnings. And you might be wondering why she could buy my share so cheaply. It's because owning a share in a company doesn't really mean much if the company isn't making a profit. In order for a share to have any value to an owner, the company needs to make a profit so that it can pay a dividend. In the case of the company that runs this channel, it won't be making a profit for the foreseeable future. This is because all earnings will be redistributed through wages and expenses. Therefore, buying the share would be a complete waste of money to any potential buyer, as the owner would see zero returns. The company has 2 employees, me and my wife. It's been that way since the company's inception in 2020. And for that entire time, we have both received an equal wage. Instead of me just telling you what my wage was, I will read from the official report by the trustee, who again did a full investigation of my financial position over the past several years. The bankrupt has disclosed his interest in 1 ordinary share in Karl Jobs Gaming Proprietary Limited. Records filed with ASIC verify the bankrupt holds 50%.
The word ordinary makes me laugh now. That's what the Mutahar stuff did to me. 1 ordinary share
of the company's shares on issue. The bankrupt is a former director of the company and is employed by it. The company operates, inter alia, the YouTube channel Karl Jobs, established on the bankrupt's personal image. As noted in section 4.7 above, the bankrupt has disclosed a reduction of income from $150,000 to $80,000 on his bankrupt form and advised this is attributable to the reduced cash flow of the company. Based on historical records, we initially deemed the bankrupt's estimated income pursuant to section 139Y of the Act to be $150,000 $150,000, and as such may be liable for income contributions totaling $14,000 for the first year of his bankruptcy. The bankrupt has disputed this, and we are further assessing the information provided. Here, the trustee looked at the last several years of personal income from the company and assessed my predicted income to be $150,000 per year. This is important because in Australian bankruptcy, for every dollar you earn over $120,000 per year, at least in my case because I have one dependent, 50 cents will go to the trustee to be given to creditors. So they can't touch any of my earnings up to approximately $120,000, and then beyond that, 50% would need to go to the trustee. This
he's just gonna run the speed limit. He's gonna go the speed limit. Just never go over the amount.
$50,000 per year salary was based on previous years. However, as we all know, since the verdict, my channel has seen a large reduction in views. It seems at this moment I'm receiving about half the views I was before.
You see, ultimately, what I did was I made myself look a bit slimy so that you would like me less, so you'd watch less and I'd make less money, and that way we wouldn't have enough income that I would earn enough that Billy would get a cent of it. That was my master plan.
Of course, I hope this improves and I will work hard to rebuild my channel, but that's where it stands as of right now. At these views, the company is not earning enough to pay 2 salaries of $150,000 plus expenses, so our salaries will be reduced. Certainly, they will be reduced to a level below the threshold where I would need to begin paying the trustee any money. In a nutshell, all of the money that this channel earns will go to company expenses and wages for my wife and I. None of the money this channel earns will go to the trustee or Billy. Australian bankruptcy lasts for 3 years. After 3 years, all of my debts are discharged, which basically means they are permanently erased. And yes, this includes my debt to Billy, as civil judgments and cost orders are considered provable debts and are discharged through bankruptcy.
I can't fact check any of this. I have none of the expertise required. Even if I looked into it, I wouldn't be able to give you a meaningful opinion. I'd have to pass it on to someone else. Me personally, I would not be fucking saying any of this.
Aside from my properties and my share in the company, I don't have any other recoverable assets. I own a car, but it's only worth $20,000 and is
just in case I fucking fuck up saying something in the video and don't realize.
jointly owned with my wife, so I'm allowed to keep it. Realistically, unless something drastically changes, the only money the trustees will get from me will be from my wife buying my properties, which again was $224,000. So out of that money, how much will Billy get? Well, first, we need to consider trustee remuneration, which is how much money the trustee pays themselves. Administering a bankruptcy is very expensive, and the estimated cost for my trustee to perform all of their duties is $50,000. This $50,000 is not paid for
FM Syntheses. He explains that apparently that's all legit.
Or by me. It comes out of the money they collect. So from that $224,000, $50,000 will be paid to the trustee. After this, we have to consider the fact that Billy is not the only person I owe money to. I had credit card debts and tax debt. These were normal debts that most people have, and they were debts that I was planning to pay at some point. But because Billy forced me into bankruptcy, all of my personal debts also fell into the bankruptcy.
Look, you forced someone into bankruptcy, you won. I don't care if Billy's also fucked.
And they also became creditors. And these other creditors
in this like fucked up internet people fight. I'm sorry.
Will take some of the money that the trustee receives as well. I don't know the exact figure, but I would guess that Billy will
The twist is gonna have to be fucking huge.
Receive somewhere around
for me to change my assessment.
$50,000. And given that Billy incurred legal fees of $686,000, it means that despite winning, Billy still lost over $500,000. Now, I don't know if Billy personally cares about losing that money, but in my opinion, this is valuable information for the public to know. Lawsuits are not a money-making exercise. In almost every case, unless you're suing a huge company or suing someone you know is very rich, the only people who make money are the lawyers. When Billy sued me back in 2021, my net worth was less than $100,000, and he sued me for $450,000. In Australia, you simply cannot get more than what someone has in a civil lawsuit. There was never, ever any potential universe that ever could have existed where Billy didn't lose a lot of money. The outcome that eventuated was basically his best case scenario, and it was still very costly. With
the house timeline. Whatever.
All of this said, I want to make it extremely clear that this outcome is not the result of me gaming the system. I did not want to go bankrupt, and I did what I could to avoid it. Before going bankrupt, I made an offer to Billy. I told him exactly what I owned, including the 2 properties and my share in the company. I told him what they were worth. I advised Billy that I could not pay the judgment, and thus I would be declaring bankruptcy. However, I first gave Billy the option to accept an immediate cash payment of $300,000 in order to release me from the judgment. Of course, that money wasn't coming from me, this was sourced from family members. This was a very generous offer. If Billy accepted this offer, he would have received double the amount of money he will receive now through the bankruptcy process, and on top of that, because I would be avoiding bankruptcy, all of my personal debts would still need to have been paid, which total over
Do we know, like, how much money Billy has?
$100,000. However,
the thing that seems crazy to me is having the resources to do this anyway. To begin with.
Billy chose not to accept this offer. So instead of me paying Billy $300,000 and retaining all of my personal debts of over $100,000, I was forced into bankruptcy.
He took out a fucking mortgage? Okay. If that's true, I'm starting to reassess.
Where my wife bought my share of the properties for $224,000, of which Billy only gets $150,000, and all of my other personal debts are completely discharged in 3 years, along with my entire debt to Billy. Effectively, Billy rejecting my offer cost him $150,000 and saved my...
Hang on, I need to fucking look this up. I don't know if it'll be in the video. Hang on. Because I don't necessarily trust N Bomber Guy as a source of information. I'm not immediately seeing anything about that anywhere.
family $200,000, which just shows how good faith and generous my offer really was. On the topic of generous offers, I was the only party to ever make a formal settlement offer during the lawsuit. On the 23rd of May 2022, I offered to settle the lawsuit with the following terms. I pay Billy $3,000, I never repeat the statements he has a problem with, and we both walk away. Now, you might look at this offer and think that $3,000 is...
Our client is willing to settle the above proceeding on the following terms. Our client pay your client the fully inclusive sum of $3,000.
Not a lot of money. But again, considering that Billy's best case scenario, if he kept suing me, was to lose $500,000.
Our client will provide your client with a signed undertaking in the following terms. I, Karl, to undertake not to accept as may be required by law in any way, directly or indirectly, publish any statements of the nature or similar or substantially the same as whereby the words in their ordinary and natural meaning mean and were understood to mean that William Mitchell required Ben Smith to pay him a large amount of money to settle his defamation claim, which caused Ben Smith to go into considerable debt and to take on extra work to survive. B, a major contributing factor in Ben Smith's decision to take his own, that's presumably Apollo, his own life was Mr. Mitchell's requirement that he pay the plaintiff a large sum of money to settle the defamation claim. Your client will agree to release our client from all and any claims arising from or related to the publications pleaded within the statement of claim filed in the proceeding. The proceeding will be discontinued with no order as to costs. Blah, blah. The terms of this settlement, if accepted by your client, are subject to a deed. The terms of that deed are to be confidential. To be clear, that means any payment, including that there was one, is confidential. Billy wants there to be a message, man. There's no way. There was no. Forget the 3,000 sum. That detail he doesn't know.
This offer was extremely generous.
The only public statement that can be made about the proceeding, other than the above undertaking, is that it has been resolved.
And if the lawsuit wasn't about money, what was it about? When Billy sued me, I had already removed that section of the video months prior. I had already made a retraction. If Billy wanted a better retraction or a better apology, he could have made his own settlement offer requesting it. I am certain that I would have gladly made a separate video with a better retraction and apology to prevent further litigation. But Billy...
Why didn't he give me another chance?
Never asked. The only thing Billy ever asked for was money, a thing that he was never, ever going to get. And now it does appear as though Billy is very unhappy with how things turned out.
Oh.
Initially, he seemed excited that I went bankrupt. He even went out of his way to let the public know that it happened.
Let's
This
see.
surprised me. I assumed Billy would want to keep this a secret for as long as possible, because by its definition, the fact that I went bankrupt confirms I don't have the money to pay him. And I was under the impression he would want the world to continue to believe he had just made a ton of money. Billy even tweeted a picture of himself in front of a vacationer motorhome, claiming that the equity from my house will pay for it. He looks so happy here. A new vacationer costs $250,000.
Do we know that he believes what he's saying? Or is he fucking memeing though?
That is around 2.5 times the amount of money he is getting from me. At least my equity will be able to cover the deposit. That's something, I guess.
Billy Mitchell is like constantly fucking trolling on Twitter.
Personally, I don't think spending $700,000 suing me just to get $150,000 back was a smart way to get enough money to buy a new motorhome. But I truly hope Billy buys it, and I'm looking forward to seeing him drive it soon. I don't know if Billy tweeted this because he wants to fool the public into believing he didn't just lose $500,000, or if he genuinely believed he was going to get his money back. But I'm inclined to think it might actually be the second, because a few days later, Billy tweeted this. This tweet is fascinating for multiple reasons, and despite being only 2 sentences long, it tells us so much about how ignorant Billy is. Clearly, Billy is upset with how things are going. So upset that he wants...
I don't know you can get away with this after... I don't know if you can pull this off with this guy after the years of you being confident you were going to win.
...to go crying back to the court. This tells me that...
And then ending up bankrupt. Like, even if it's a fucking Pyrrhic victory where Billy blew his own dick off to hurt you, this tone isn't hitting. This tone isn't working.
Billy really does care about the money he thought he was going to get, though I'm not sure why he is so upset now. Things are going exactly as we told him things would go over 2 months ago when we told him I would be going bankrupt. Maybe Billy's lawyer didn't properly inform him of what bankruptcy means. Billy claims I've engaged in serious illegal activity before and during the bankruptcy process, and I'm very curious to know what he
Is Karl gonna announce he's suing Billy Mitchell? He's gonna take the truck, man!
is referring to. Remember, people on Reddit and YouTube are claiming I was a criminal because my wife purchased my share of the house. So maybe Billy has been believing too many Reddit comments or watching too many LUS videos. In any case, it's evident from this tweet that Billy still hasn't even bothered to learn what bankruptcy entails, because the notion that he could take me back to court is a hilarious one. One of the main benefits of going bankrupt is that it protects you against further legal action from creditors. Billy cannot take me back to court, no matter how much he wants to. Against further legal action.
Going bankrupt removes the immediate pressure of dealing with individual creditors, as all creditors must communicate and lodge their claims with the trustee rather than directly with the debtor. Most unsecured creditors are not permitted to take any legal or other action to recover or enforce any claim against the debtor. Would what he'd take you to court for again necessarily just be regarding recovering the debt? I'm not a lawyer. Could it not be something else? Is it necessarily that what he'd be going after you for there is going after the debt?
Action from creditors. Billy cannot take me back to court, no matter how much he wants to, at least in relation to the current debt. He can sue me for something completely unrelated, but when it comes to any money I currently owe him, he can't do anything. There are certain situations where a creditor can sue a bankrupt person, but none of those apply here. Again, I don't know if Billy is just ignorant himself, or if he is just relying on the public being ignorant to buy into his antics. However,
also, Billy Mitchell says so-and-so will be sued every 2 seconds.
Just to be sure, I emailed the trustee to confirm if I had done anything illegal. They responded confirming they have no idea what Billy is talking about, though they did contact Billy's lawyer to ask what he was referring to, because, as they say, they have a legal duty to investigate all alleged misconduct. Billy was apparently very upset by this, because several days later, he tweeted a cartoon depiction of himself hanging me to death from a
Karl Jobst complained about one of my tweets to the bankruptcy officer. Imagine publicly attacking someone for 4 years just to privately whine like a crybaby. Jobst is a serious contender for lolcow of the year. Even iDubbbz wouldn't have done this. My boomer grandpa has got a Twitter account.
Apparently, I was complaining about his tweet. Aside from the fact I wasn't even complaining, I was merely double-checking if the trustee had any idea what Billy was rambling on about. I don't understand why Billy would be upset with the...
I don't know about that, Relia. That's more the distinction between criminal and civil, yes? Like, what you... Civil suits are still regarding breaking of laws, yes? Am I out of my fucking mind?
Trustee
I'm very sleepy.
wanting to investigate this supposed illegal activity. You would think Billy would be happy the trustee was reaching out so that Billy could inform them of all of the ways I was engaging in serious illegal activity. One possible reason that Billy was so enraged is because he knows that every time the trustee has to investigate some bogus report of illegal activity, they charge it to the
I am not a lawyer. I am not a lawyer.
bankrupt estate, which means Billy ends up getting less money. And they charge a lot. They already spent over $20,000 investigating my affairs for the first time. Does Billy want to spend another $20,000 doing it again? In any case, consider this. Billy won the lawsuit. He won, I lost. Since the verdict, there has been a huge smear campaign launched against me, with many people, including Billy, trying to do as much damage to my brand as possible. And it's been very effective. I even had to go bankrupt. But that's still not good enough for Billy. Despite all of this,
He's going to lynch me.
Fantasizing about my death.
Come on, man.
This isn't the first time Billy has jerked off to the idea of a YouTuber's death either. Back in 2018, he had heard from his wife that Apollo legend had died.
Karl, don't.
This was shortly after Apollo made his video exposing Billy's cheating, and Billy was overjoyed. So much so that he messaged his friends, saying that he would try his hardest not to smile or giggle, and even going further, saying that he hoped it was true. This is one of the reasons we felt as though Billy shouldn't win the lawsuit, because it doesn't make sense that Billy
Felt as though he shouldn't win the lawsuit.
could express so much joy over the thought of Apollo's death and then have any ground to stand on when he actually died. During trial, Billy acted as if he was so remorseful and so regretful that he sent those messages.
If it's true, I will not shed a tear. I will try not to smile or giggle. No promises.
Correct, that's what it says.
And you maintain that that is you not believing he's actually dead.
I didn't believe he was dead for a second.
Why on earth would you say if it is true?
That was dark humor, and I regret it very much.
If it is true, the reference to if it is true is dark humor.
Yes, it's dark humor.
It's not him causing it? Yes. I presume Karl's being very careful here. He wants to jab back. He wants Billy to keep fighting him. And he's aware that there's this phenomenon where fucking Billy Mitchell's the Giga Chad because he won the lawsuit and stuff. But Billy is, outside of this phenomenon, kinda hateable. And I think Karl sees the opportunity to get people hating Billy on his side again. And Karl's trying to be the Giga Chad and focus only on the things that are safe to say because it's based on just logs, it's just true.
I regret doing it.
He's not doubling down on what he lost on in the lawsuit, though, Bo, is he? He's not doubling down on he caused it, he's doubling down on the he said this shit, which apparently he did.
I guess I really regret doing it because it was true 3 years later.
Yeah.
I certainly didn't make a joke then.
Were you thinking about how his parents would feel if you were joking about his death back then?
No, because I didn't believe he had died.
Ah.
From an anonymous post on Reddit, I didn't believe it.
So you went and texted 2 people about it because you didn't believe it?
Correct. I just brought it to their attention.
But it wasn't true. Why would you bring it to their attention?
It was true that it was being spoken about on Reddit.
Where does that come out in the text messages? Can you just show me where in the text messages you say that?
On the next page.
Okay.
Go back to page 9. My wife found it online. Apollo Legend's dead, no joke. When you go down further, it says, he says, I'm looking on Reddit. And I said, the only place I remember she mentioned was reddit.com, which is a red flag for something not being true.
Does it say that?
You failed. You look, anyone who was on board with fucking Billy's horrible for this, it was on reddit.com. That's a red flag for it not being true. Giga Chad.
At ABC News, I would have had a different attitude.
Oh, okay. Rightio.
But I shouldn't have made it comment anyway. It was dark humor and very inappropriately placed.
Cringe. False. False statement. False.
So then when he starts looking online for other verifications of the death, if you turn then to page 10, You say, I certainly hope you find something solid. Meaning, I hope that you find something on ABC, for example, confirming that he was actually dead.
No.
That's not what you mean by that.
No.
That's your evidence.
Should I read the whole text, or would you like to read it?
Then you say, oops,
Yeah.
was I not supposed to say that?
Correct. Dark humor that I regret tremendously to this day.
Okay. And then you say
I mean,
that you're
oops,
going
that's an indication. Oops. And I regret it.
Oops.
I don't know what to say.
Oops.
I regret it.
No, you totally were. When you said find something solid, you totally were talking about verification of death. Come on, Billy. All right?
I sincerely regret it.
Come on.
Especially because it became true 3 years later.
This entire act was all bullshit, however, because as soon as our trial ended, Billy went right back to his favorite pastime.
You joked about someone killing himself when he didn't, and then 3 years later he did. Gonna be real, I'd probably just like have like a laughing seizure if someone came at me with that.
Of masturbating to the thought of dead YouTubers who have made videos critical of him. Clearly, Apollo Legend's death didn't quite satisfy Billy's sick fetish, and it even
Is the twist that Karl's gonna like reveal he's killed himself and his wife uploaded this video with him hanging from a rope? Not so funny now, is it, Billy?
appears as though Billy has upgraded, because now it wouldn't be enough for me to just kill myself like Apollo.
Someone asked 3 years later. Yeah, the jokes about Apollo killing himself were apparently 3 years before he killed himself.
Legend, in Billy's depraved fantasy, he gets to be the one who holds the rope. Billy has got to be one of the dumbest people alive. When
Billy is not going to lynch you. I promise you, he's not going to lynch you.
Billy sued me, I had basically nothing. My net worth was essentially zero. I had a tiny amount of equity in my townhouse, but I was also in debt and I had just started a family. Billy spent hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars suing someone who had no money and who had to crowdfund their defense. He rejected my attempts to settle. He made no attempt to settle or negotiate himself whatsoever. He rejected
Billy Mitchell's unreasonable, overwhelming power. He hates you so much he's willing to destroy himself.
Offer to avoid bankruptcy, and now he is upset he lost all of his money. What a moron. And I think I know why Billy is especially upset. And it's because the truth is that Billy Mitchell is not a rich man. As part of my due diligence, I conducted a search of all of Billy's assets, just like Billy should have done before he sued me. This is so I knew what he owned in the event I won the lawsuit, and he owed me money. And what I found interesting is that when I conducted a search on Billy's house, I found out that it wasn't in his name. It was completely in the name of his wife. Naturally, the first—
Holy shit! No, Karl, he's just 2 steps ahead, bro. Dog, he's just... he's playing chess while you're playing checkers. He already moved everything to his wife.
thought I had was that maybe Billy had moved.
Billy Mitchell and Karl Jobst are just fucking Pokemon being sent out against each other by their wives. The true puppet masters are Miss Wong and this is Mitchell.
This asset out of his name in preparation for losing the lawsuit.
Fuck is this?
So I found the property deed of transfer, which showed in the year 2000 the property had been transferred solely into Billy's wife's name from a third party when she bought it. Except it wasn't bought by Billy's wife. Or at least, she wasn't his wife at the time. She didn't carry Billy's name, and the deed said she was a single woman. This didn't make sense to me, because Billy claims he has been married since 1996.
And you've been married for a long time. How many years have you been married?
Oh, since 96.
96. Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I've already had 2 divorces, and you know that's marriage is a wonderful and difficult thing.
Well, you've achieved something I haven't achieved. Look at it that way.
All right. And Billy would tell stories about how he's been married since the 90s.
I won't lie to you. It was 1999. My son was a year and a half old, and my daughter was 2 years old, or 2.5 years old rather. And I had the opportunity to go to Japan, and I was so paranoid as I approached my wife to tell her about this opportunity. But she married this guy who's going to run off and play video games in Japan?
None of this was adding up, and I want—
Well, Neko, I think this is going to be about the deed transfer or whatever the fuck it was, suggesting it was purchased by a single woman. It's going to be a discrepancy where that's inaccurate or untrue, I presume.
to know what was—
It could also be that it's not his wife, but
going on. So I searched through public records, and they show that Billy wasn't married to his wife in 1996. Instead, they were married in 2003. So if Billy was married in 2003, why would he lie and say that he was married in 96? Well, it's because when he started having children with his current wife, he was married to another woman. Billy first got married in 1990. Then, in the mid-90s, he started a family with a woman who wasn't his wife. On the 13th of March 2003, Billy appeared in Season 4's 7th episode of the MTV series True Life, I'm a Gamer. In that episode, it shows Billy with his supposed wife, Evelyn. The interesting thing about this is that Evelyn wasn't his wife, as Billy was still married to someone else. However, I guess Billy figured,
I'm all for fucking hot goss about public figures, obviously. It's not speaking to me yet. It's not speaking to me yet. I don't care that it's not important yet. I don't care if it never becomes important. It has to be, like, juicy. I'm not getting the juice yet.
That if he was going to publicly lie about who he was married to, he may as well make it official. So a week after this episode aired, Billy filed for divorce. And when his divorce was finalized in late September of 2003, the very next week, he applied to marry...
What was that show? Imagine if his fucking then wife found out he was with someone else. Discovered through some fucking gamer show. Hey baby, I'm gonna be on this gamer show, watch it. And then when it comes to the section that shows him with his wife, he hands her the divorce papers.
Marry his mistress of many years. So that's why Billy lies about his marriage, because the truth is that he had his children out of wedlock.
Karl, we already fucking know he's a cheater!
To a mistress, and that just doesn't sound quite as wholesome.
I've already had 2 divorces, and you know that's marriage is a wonderful and difficult thing.
Well, you've achieved something I haven't achieved. Look at it that way.
All right. But what about Billy's hot sauce company? Wasn't that a booming success? After Billy supposedly...
It's actually just tomato juice.
Achieved the first perfect Pac-Man in 1999, he went on a press tour, where he gloated about being a hot sauce tycoon that was running a $5 million a year business. According to Billy, the hot sauce company was something he developed, and he still claims he invented the hot sauce to this very day. But this idea that Billy created the hot sauce, or the company that sells it, seems to be something he fabricated himself. Billy's hot sauce company was formed in 1988 by Billy's parents, and
wait till you hear about Mudahar's skincare company. Anyway, I don't cover that unless someone else is talking about it, okay?
At the time, the hot sauce was developed by Billy's mother, Barbara, and this was always the case up until 1999, when Billy decided to start taking credit for his mother's work. According to company filings, Billy didn't even take over running the company until 2003, and by this time the company hadn't done business in 3 years. So if the company was doing $5 million a year in 1999, why did operations suddenly cease just a year later? And I suppose an even more pressing question is that if Billy really was...
Oh god, what did Billy put in the sauce?
Hot sauce tycoon running a multi-million
what did he put in the damn sauce?
And a devoted family man, why is it that in the year 2000, the mother of his children needed to take out a $100,000 mortgage solely in her name just to buy their family home, the home that Billy lives in? And money was apparently so tight that in 2001, she filed for bankruptcy. Meanwhile, at the very same time, Billy was out there trying to publicly brag about how rich he was by offering $100,000 to anyone who could get past the Pac-Man split screen. So either Billy did have $100,000 and decided it was more important to him to give it to a random person who could beat a video game rather than buy a house for his family, or maybe, just maybe, Billy is a con artist who lies about his success just like everything else.
Yeah, probably. I always assumed so. Does Karl think everyone who's like, fucking Billy wins, fucking Giga Chad, destroy him, does he think they're all like 100% all in, genuinely think Billy's the greatest man in the world?
But anyway, back to Billy's wife's house. In late August of 2021, Billy and his wife mortgaged his wife's home. This timing is interesting, because just a few weeks later, Billy would file his lawsuit against me. So it's rather curious that right before Billy knew he was—
Never hold hands. I'm down with it. I'm down with it if the hot goss is juicy and, like, tickles me just right, if I find it entertaining. My problem with this is that it isn't hitting. It's not scratching the Love Island itch. It's not the Love Island itch. That sounds like I have a fucking STD. Fucking hell. It's not scratching the Married at First Sight itch.
About to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in a legal battle, he mortgaged his wife's house. This doesn't seem like the actions of a man with a lot of money. And when Billy was required to put up security during our lawsuit, guess where the money came from? Not from Billy, but from Billy's wife. Again, this doesn't seem like the actions of a man with a lot of money. This would explain why Billy is now so upset that he is fantasizing about killing me. As the adage goes, a happy wife means a happy life. And given that Billy appears to have lost so much of his wife's money, I can't imagine the hell he is going through right now.
You can just get another one.
right now. But let's look on the bright side. At least now me and Billy have something in common. In fact, I would even consider us...
Your wife hates you? What do you mean? His wife's real upset. Well, I guess she would be, right?
Spirits. Billy and I share a special bond. We both live in houses entirely owned by our wives. Recently, Billy put out a video titled A Statement from Billy Mitchell, Karl Jobst. In the video, Billy discusses various things. Of course, it's full of lies as per usual, but he spends a good amount of time discussing my GoFundMe. And what he says in the video is very interesting. It's incredibly dishonest, but I'm actually glad he came out with this video because it gives me the perfect opportunity to let the public know details that have never been made public before.
All right.
By the time Mr. Jobs had lost his financial backing from Notch, Notch's money was exhausted, he had failed to dismiss the case, he needed money, and he needed money now. But he knew his viewers may not open wallets if he was transparent about the true subject of the lawsuit. Here's what he does. On November 4th, 2022, he reaches back 6 months to May of 2022, pulls out an old legal correspondent that never received follow-up, and he creates a GoFundMe campaign on the premise that he urgently needs financial support for a potential second lawsuit.
Let me just write a note to myself. May, claim is, May, Karl pulls up. Hang on. May, there's legal correspondence. 6 months later, Jobst. Hang on, I'll say no follow-up. 6 months later, Jobst brings it up. Fundraise as urgent when it's nothing. That's the claim, just for checking back.
Karl, I do not accept the fact that you generally woke up 6 months after the last correspondence and also after your financial support ran out from Notch.
He claims it's the last correspondence. Put it on screen, not a chance. You'll see how many typos I'm making.
And you suddenly felt the need to crowdfund for a potential second lawsuit. You obviously knew the second lawsuit was not coming. Or at the very least, you were unsure if it ever was.
Billy seems to be claiming...
Was at least unsure, is the claim.
That I knew Billy was never going to file any further lawsuits after his original complaint, and that it was all just a scheme to raise money under false pretenses.
No.
If it ever was. Not coming. Or at the very least, you were unsure if it ever was.
Or at the very least, you were unsure. The claim is softened. You weren't certain.
Billy seems to be claiming that I knew Billy was never going to file any further lawsuits after his original complaint, and that it was all just a scheme to raise money under false pretenses. The way Billy talks about things always seems to make sense upon first glance. That's what makes Billy such a great con artist. If you have no context or any knowledge on the topic he is discussing, it's easy to believe what he says. But when you break the things he says down piece by piece...
Well, he's not necessarily lying. He might have said it like this because he has evidence that what Billy said is totally wrong. He might have receipts that show this isn't real, and that's why he stated it like that.
And examine them in greater detail, you will always find that he is completely full of shit. So let's go through Billy's statements and break them down piece by piece.
On May 10th, 2022, Mr. Jobs published a video about me that led my lawyers to send a concern notice to his lawyers. On May 22nd, 2022, Mr. Jobs and I were scheduled for mandatory mediation in the already existing lawsuit, one and only lawsuit. Before the mediation, my lawyers emailed his lawyers a copy of a legal complaint related to the concerns notice, and my lawyers said that I would proceed with the complaint unless the current lawsuit resolved at the mediation.
This is truly amazing. Billy is admitting that his lawyer sent me a second complaint for a new lawsuit, and is admitting that his lawyer advised my lawyers that it would be filed if the existing lawsuit did not resolve, which obviously it did not. So his lawyer
at the mediation.
This
with the complaint unless the current lawsuit resolved at the mediation.
Okay.
This is truly amazing. Billy is admitting that his lawyer sent me a second complaint for a new lawsuit and is admitting that his lawyer advised my lawyers that it would be filed if the existing lawsuit...
Potato Rufles fed the streamer a $2 superberry. Karl and Billy competing for been more douchey lol.
Hang on. We refer to our correspondence of 20th April 2022, which attached a concerns notice sent to your client in respect to his publication entitled Disgraced Gamer Billy Mitchell Accused of Extortion. We are attaching a draft statement of claim, which we have instructions to file at the expiration of the 28-day period following the concerns notice in the event that an offer to make amends in acceptable terms is not received within that period. So that... informed him it would proceed after the period of 28 days should acceptable amends not be made. So when this will start to get funny, the further after that 28-day period that the GoFundMe was made, the weaker this becomes.
Which did not resolve, which obviously it did not. So far, this is true. But what's astonishing is that for the past 2 years, Billy has been saying that the second complaint never existed at all, and I was lying about the entire thing. In July 2023, in a public rant, Billy said that I was lying about the second complaint, and that there was only ever one complaint.
But then...
This is irrelevant to the... At this point, this bit is irrelevant to the legitimacy of your GoFundMe.
You go on there, and you say he's suing me again.
Billy Mitchell lying and saying there was never a second complaint is irrelevant to whether or not the GoFundMe was legit.
He puts up nothing, no proof, anything, that he's being sued again. Nothing. There is one complaint in there, and that's the original complaint.
Now he finally admits there was indeed a second complaint that was sent to us, and...
Hang on.
He puts up nothing, no proof, anything, that he's being sued again.
He said that Karl didn't put up the second complaint.
Nothing. There is one complaint in there, and that's the original complaint.
Now he finally admits there was indeed a second complaint that was sent...
Hold on.
That's the original complaint.
Now he finally admits there was...
Let me look up the Karl Jobs GoFundMe. My name is Karl Jobst, and I'm a YouTuber who often reports on video game cheaters. Last year, Billy Mitchell, star of The King of Kong, and proven video game... I'll put this up on screen. My name is Karl Jobst, and I'm a YouTuber who often reports on video game cheaters. Last year, Billy Mitchell, star of The King of Kong and proven video game cheater, sued me for defamation claiming damages of 450 grand. In the past year alone, this lawsuit has cost almost 200 grand to defend, and will cost at least another 100 grand before it's over. The situation...
Forfeit the streamer $5
Thank you.
superberry. Mr. Jobst, the second complaint has just been filed.
Has just hit the building. The situation is already crazy, but has since gotten much worse as Billy Mitchell has sent me another defamation lawsuit for another 450 grand. So that would mean I will need to defend 2 lawsuits at the same time, both being extremely expensive. But then it gets even worse because Billy is threatening me with even more lawsuits. These lawsuits are unhinged, and it is highly likely Billy will ultimately lose, but until we go to trial it requires a lot of money to deal with. Okay. There was a concern notice. I'm not a lawyer though.
Was indeed a second complaint that was sent to us, and we were advised that it would be filed if the first lawsuit didn't resolve.
Would be filed following the passage of 28 days without it being resolved. The fundraiser is from fucking November. That complaint was in May. Why would you suddenly, without further follow-up, why would you suddenly choose November for that? I don't know if this actually does work, Karl.
I'm very happy that Billy is finally willing to admit this.
There was a threat of a second lawsuit at the very least. Billy Mitchell's claim was that Karl Jobst at the very least was unsure if there was going to be another lawsuit. That was Billy's actual claim, not what Karl said it was. Karl said that Billy said he knew there wasn't going to be a lawsuit. Billy actually said that and then corrected himself to say at the very least he was unsure. Karl was warned that they'd be pursuing more after 28 days if it hadn't been resolved. That warning was in May. It wasn't until November that Karl Jobst suddenly started asking for money. This doesn't add up. What Billy says adds up here, actually.
The current lawsuit did not resolve, but I chose not to begin a second lawsuit.
Yeah, which he said would occur after 28 days. And then months after that, Karl Jobst started asking money for it and saying there was another lawsuit.
Even though my lawyers felt that the second claim was meritorious, no further developments occurred after May 22nd relating to that concerns note.
Billy claims, at the very least, you weren't sure. Billy suggests that there was a reason other than the belief that there was a second lawsuit that you asked for funding. The amount of time you waited after that 28 days to ask for money does make it seem weird.
And the complaint emailed to Mr. Jobs' lawyer. The complaint was not filed. The complaint was not served. My lawyers did not email Mr. Jobs' lawyers after the mediation to request that he accepted service of a second lawsuit. It was complete silence.
This is also true. After Billy's lawyer advised us he had instructions to file the second lawsuit, we didn't hear anything further.
There's a bit of an omission here. The lawyer said he had instruction to file it after, specifically in the complaint you showed, after 28 days. After 28 days, that didn't happen. So why did you think it was going to happen in November, months later? This is bullshit.
Billy apparently changed his mind at some point, though he didn't tell me or my legal team.
You knew once it wasn't filed after 28 days.
Billy had his lawyer send us a second complaint and instructed his lawyer to tell us that he had instructions to file the second complaint and begin a second lawsuit, and then changed his mind, but didn't tell us.
28 days after you got the notice, if the lawsuit wasn't resolved. 28 days passed, then months and months and months passed, then you asked for money for that supposed lawsuit.
What Billy is saying.
And as I showed earlier, at this time, May 22nd, 2022, the funds that Mr.
And as Billy said, at the very least, you were not certain that was going to happen. Of course you weren't. You had no reason to believe it was at that point, given all the details. But suddenly in November you asked. Billy's earlier statement wasn't wrong.
Notch gave to Mr. Jobs ran dry.
This is also true. Notch stopped funding my legal fees in early 2022.
In July of 2022, Mr. Jobs submitted an application to the court of what effectively amounted as a Hail Mary attempt to dismiss the lawsuit. That didn't pan out for him.
This is such a ridiculous lie that I'm shocked even Billy Mitchell would say something this stupid. But I guess all of these years later he can still impress me. Billy shows a document on screen and claims that I submitted an application attempting to dismiss the lawsuit. What he's showing on screen is an order from the judge. Let's take that same document and scroll it down slightly to see what it says. It says the plaintiff, aka Billy, will further provide security for the defendant's costs of the proceeding in the amount of $15,000. So what is Billy going on about? This has nothing to do with dismissing the case. this. In July 2022, we submitted an application to require Billy to put down more money as security in the event he loses the lawsuit. Billy is not an Australian citizen, and as such, recovery of any money would be more difficult. So we made the court require him to put up extra money as bond because he refused. And the judge agreed with us and forced him to pay an extra $15,000. What does this have to do with dismissing the lawsuit? It has nothing to do with dismissing the lawsuit. Billy just puts this random order on screen, cuts off the bottom right where it shows what the order is about, and claims I made an application to dismiss the lawsuit. It's just a huge lie.
I'm not a lawyer. Seems like he did that wrong or lied or whatever.
By the time Mr. Jobs had lost his financial backing from Notch, Notch's money was exhausted, he had failed to dismiss the case, he needed money, and he needed money now. But he knew his viewers may not open wallets if he was transparent about the true subject of the lawsuit. Here's what he does.
Consider as well, remember, people are saying, well, Billy could have sued him. He could have said 28 days after failure to resolve it, or rather 28 days after the notice, if the original lawsuit wasn't satisfactorily wrapped up. He still could have sued him after. Sure, Billy could have told everyone that's why he was doing this. Instead, he said he's gotten a second lawsuit. Billy could have explained why he's asking for the money. Instead, he made it sound like he was being sued again.
On November 4th, 2022, he reaches back 6 months to May of 2022, pulls out an old legal correspondent.
Karl also claimed that Billy was threatening multiple more lawsuits beyond the second one.
That never received follow-up, and he creates a GoFundMe campaign on the premise that he urgently needs financial support for a potential second lawsuit. Karl, I do not accept the fact that you generally woke up 6 months after the last correspondence and also after your financial support ran out from Notch, and you suddenly felt the need to crowdfund for a potential second lawsuit. You obviously knew the second lawsuit was not coming.
According to Billy, if you do not...
Oh, Karl, you showed us what he said after that the first time, but you cut it off just there. Immediately after that, Billy says, or at the very least, you weren't sure. Nah.
File a lawsuit within 6 months, it means you aren't going to file it ever. But let's...
Only if you cut off what he said next does it mean that. No. This is fucked. Karl. That's fucked.
Take a look at Billy's history of lawsuits and when he does actually file them. In Florida, the statute of limitations is 2 years for filing a defamation lawsuit. Apollo Legend made his video in February 2018. Billy Mitchell sued him exactly 2 years later in February 2020. Jeremy Young exposed Billy's cheating by using MAME in February of 2018, and Billy sued him alongside Jeff Harris and Donkey Kong Forum exactly 2 years later in February 2020. Twin Galaxies banned Billy in April of 2018, and Billy sued them in Florida exactly 2 years later in April 2020. In California, the statute of limitations is only 1 year. So in California, Billy sued Twin Galaxies exactly 1 year later in April of 2019.
Don't care. Why did you decide to do a GoFundMe all those months later? You were told 28 days from the date of that letter is when they'd start pursuing further action if the original lawsuit wasn't suitably if mediation didn't work out. That didn't happen, and then months and months later, suddenly you decided.
In almost every
Why?
single defamation lawsuit Billy has ever filed, it was right before the statute of limitations expired. In fact,
You presented it to your audience as... You said, Billy Mitchell has sent me another defamation lawsuit for another $450,000. Why didn't you say, 6 months ago, Billy Mitchell sent me a notice that he planned to pursue further legal action if mediation didn't work out? Don't bullshit. You made it look like it was happening imminently, and this was just this was sudden. You were just reacting to something that had just happened. No.
The fastest lawsuit Billy ever filed was his original lawsuit against me, but even then, that was 4 months later, not immediately. The statute of limitations in my state is 1 year, and he has that entire year to file. This
Damn, sounds like you should have crowdfunded immediately then.
notion that if you don't file something immediately it means you aren't going to file it at all is just fucking stupid. But here is where you can tell Billy is truly evil. Billy just sits there and nonchalantly describes how he had his lawyer create a second complaint and then sent that to my lawyers and told us he would be suing us again as if it's no big deal. I mean, it's just a little second lawsuit. What's the big fuss about? I promise you, you cannot appreciate how stressful a lawsuit is until you are sued. I could try to convey it in words what it's like, but it would.
So we're talking about your GoFundMe having funny timing, being extremely misleading in my opinion. Extremely misleading. Situation's crazy, but has since gotten much worse as Billy Mitchell has sent me another defamation lawsuit. Several months ago we got a notice. I think that's misleading to the people you're asking money from. And you're making this all about the personal stress. Karl, if the thought of another lawsuit was that fucking stressful, why didn't you crowdfund fucking immediately? It stressed me out, I was terrified. So in my stress and fear, I waited 6 months and then asked for money to help with it.
Never do it justice. It's one of the worst things you could ever go through.
Yeah, exactly, Midgematic. This ain't adding up to me.
Last for years and cost hundreds of.
Why didn't you include those details in here? Oh, I couldn't tell them it was 6 months ago. It would hurt my case. No. Fuck off.
Thousands of dollars. Just ask anyone who's ever been sued. Now, what you really couldn't imagine is going through an existing lawsuit and then being told you're going to be sued again. And this.
No, it's fine, babe. I've got the aircon in it anyway.
Wasn't just an
So there's already a hum, don't worry about it.
idle threat. This was Billy's lawyer sending us the physical complaint and saying that he had instructions to file it. It was literally the most stressful physical
He
complaint.
had instructions to file it. We are attaching...
So far in this vid, Karl has won. Potentially outlined how he is committing fraud too. Told us how a lawyer refused to let him file an appeal because his case was so bad, and 3. Put a spotlight on just how bad his fundraising scam was. This is an all-time cell phone of a video.
Given how the bankrupt stuff was picked over by fucking whoever, I imagine that's all fine. But I'm not a lawyer or an accountant. I don't know about that shit. Look at all the blacked out stuff. He's using this to say his lawyers had instructions to file, right? At the expiration of the 28-day period following the concerns notice. 28 days pass, nothing happens. Another month passes, nothing. Another month, and then we hit November and suddenly he's worried it's going to happen. Why are you not mentioning the next part of that fucking sentence?
He had instructions to file it. It was literally the most stressful thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. Billy sits there and doesn't even realize that by him.
Why did you present it as if that had just happened? What are these other lawsuits you were talking about?
Explaining that he sent a second lawsuit and told us that it would be filed and then changed his mind at some point and decided not to tell me and my family is one of the most disgusting and pure evil things he has ever done. It was an outright abuse of the legal system, and it was done just to cause as much psychological damage as possible. Well, congratulations, it worked.
But not enough for you to be so scared that you crowdfunded immediately.
I could not handle the ongoing stress of the impending second lawsuit, so I asked the public for help. I didn't.
Come on, man. I couldn't handle the stress, so I made a GoFundMe that made it look like that had just occurred. Several months later.
Ask immediately because I don't like asking for money, and I never want.
I didn't ask immediately because I don't like asking for money. Why did you present it as if it was happening right then?
to. But the reality is that if Billy filed the second lawsuit, we would have been financially destroyed. There was no way we could afford 2 lawsuits. And the constant stress of having to deal with multiple lawsuits hanging above not just my head, but my wife's head as well, was too much, and I eventually created a GoFundMe to alleviate the stress.
You obviously knew the second lawsuit was not coming. Or at the very least, you were unsure if it ever was. You created a GoFundMe campaign with...
He was absolutely unsure. He presented it to the people he asked money for as a certainty. Come on, man.
The knowledge and intent to fund the existing lawsuit on false premises. Period. End of paragraph.
Billy asserts he doesn't believe I ever thought it was ever coming. Well, apparently he was pretty convincing, because it wasn't just me who thought that, it was my lawyers as well. Now, do me a favor, and quickly read this Discord exchange. Do you think I'm telling the truth here, or joking? What about now? Do you think I'm being serious, or joking around? If you can't tell, and you see me say something dumb on Discord, assume I'm joking, because usually I am. There is a big difference between talking shit on Discord with friends and the real world. I always say stupid things on Discord. It's my way of having fun. But people, whether it be bad faith or not, always take it seriously. Is everything you say always 100% serious? Have you ever made a joke?
Can you address Billy's suggestion that did you or did you not in November need money for the initial lawsuit? That is the core of what Billy is suggesting. Billy is suggesting at that point in November, you actually needed money for the first lawsuit, and you fundraised telling people it's for a second one, but you actually needed it for the first. When do we address this?
Have you ever used sarcasm? Have you ever been facetious? Imagine if you weren't allowed to joke around and everything you ever said was always taken literally. That's basically what people have been doing to me for the past several months, and honestly, for years. But what Billy and the public doesn't know is that before I launched the GoFundMe, and before I released that video, I did send the script to my lawyers to make sure it was all correct and above board.
Yeah, but did you have enough... Were you having monetary issues? Were you running into trouble regarding the first lawsuit? Or was that fine and you just needed more for the second? Billy's claim is, you pulled that shit in November because even though you had no reason to believe that was certainly coming, you presented it as certainly coming, said you needed money, and Billy is accusing you of needing that money for the first, not the second, which you didn't actually know was coming but presented that way. That has not been addressed yet.
This is the email I sent them on the 27th of October 2022. They replied the next day on the 28th, advising me they had highlighted the words they were concerned with. My lawyers weren't as deluded as me, so as you can see they had problems with me calling Billy's lawsuits frivolous or saying that he had no case. And they also didn't like me insulting Billy either. But when it came to describing the second lawsuit or my GoFundMe, they had no issues whatsoever, because everything I said was true. And Billy now admits it.
The GoFundMe is set to cover the rest of my existing lawsuit, plus the new lawsuit. So in the video he said it was the first one. To be fair, he does include the first one. Billy's contention is that it was just for the first one. Okay.
He did send me a second complaint. He did say he was going to file it, and I really don't give a fuck what decisions he and his lawyer made after that point, because they never told us. After I released the GoFundMe, Billy's lawyer sent us a letter attaching photos of the GoFundMe and asking why I was crowdfunding upon the basis that Billy had instituted a second defamation claim against me. My lawyers responded to this letter, saying, "With respect, your correspondence clearly misunderstands the basis of our client's recent publication and misstates the words used by him. Our client does not say a second defamation proceeding has been commenced, rather that proceedings were sent to him. This is a factual statement having regard to your correspondence of 10th of May 2022. At no point in time has your client withdrawn the threat of commencing the proceedings foreshadowed in your correspondence of 10th of May 2022. Now consider this. Billy knows I just made a video saying that he said he was going to sue me for a second time, and I was raising money on that basis. My lawyers have even confirmed to his lawyer..."
Billy's claim, though, is soft. Billy's claim is... Or at the very least you weren't certain.
...that what I said was factual, and that it was their actions that are causing this. And according...
All Karl has to do for that bit is say it's still justified even if I'm uncertain because it could happen.
To Billy's latest video, by this point in time, Billy had already changed.
But it still doesn't. I don't think the after 6 months is adequately explained. And I found myself convinced by Billy's suggestion that it was more a result of running out of money for the first one. Purely.
His mind.
I don't know. I found myself convinced still.
Not to proceed. You would think that Billy's lawyer might respond to this letter and to let us know that we were incorrect if he really wasn't going to sue us. But no, Billy's lawyer did not respond at all. You would think if Billy had changed.
No. So, Real Abe Awesome, you say he's been saying that for like 10 minutes. It doesn't cover... Even what I said he could have just done doesn't cover. Situation already crazy, gotten much worse, as Billy Mitchell has sent me another defamation lawsuit for another $450,000. So that would mean I will need to defend 2 lawsuits at the same time, both being extremely expensive. I think this creates the impression that it's happening. Then it gets even worse because Billy is threatening me with even more lawsuits.
His mind and wasn't really going to sue me again, that he might want to let the public know that this was not true. I mean, according to Billy, I was lying and scamming the public. But no, not a single word. All Billy's lawyer had to do was spend 2 minutes drafting a response saying, yes, I know we sent you a second complaint and said we were going to sue you, but my client has now changed his mind. That's all he needed to say. But no, despite this massive fraud that was apparently being perpetrated by me, they couldn't be bothered correcting us or letting anyone from the public know. You see, if Billy's lawyer had responded letting us know that Billy wasn't going to sue us, then I would need to inform the public. If they let me know the second lawsuit was never going to happen and I didn't tell my donors, that might be considered unethical. At least at that point I could have offered refunds. I mean, just the relief of knowing the second lawsuit was no longer coming would have caused me to just cancel the GoFundMe completely.
That's fair enough. Ooh, that part in terms of that level of culpability. Sure. The suggestion of Billy that the reason for the GoFundMe was related to running out of money primarily with regards to being able to maintain the first one, and not just as a result of there being a second one expected. I still find that convincing.
I might have done another GoFundMe at a later stage, but the basis for that crowdfunding would obviously be different. Instead, because Billy couldn't be bothered telling me or anyone else on the planet that he wasn't going to sue me, we had to wait another 6 months until the statute of limitations expired to know that he wasn't going to sue. And of course, by that stage, I had already withdrawn the money from the GoFundMe and started using it to cover legal fees, which is exactly what I said I would use the money for in my video. Maybe if I was the only variable in this whole mess, I could battle my way through it alone, but unfortunately, this affects my entire family too, and psychologically and financially, some help would really benefit not only me, but them as well. So I have set up a GoFundMe to help with my fight against Billy Mitchell, and any help would be immensely appreciated. This GoFundMe is set to cover the rest of my existing lawsuit, plus the new lawsuit that Billy Mitchell says he will be filing, plus having to deal
says he will be filing. I think that's misleading. I think even just the present tense there is fucking misleading. Karl Jobst is fucking meticulous when talking about things normally. If he was talking about something else or anyone else, he would have included the detail that that was half a year ago. I think that detail is deliberately omitted.
With all of the other bullshit threats that come my way. Billy didn't correct me or advise me he had changed his mind because he wanted me to believe that he was going to sue me. Billy uses the legal system as a weapon. He wanted to inflict as much stress as possible, and unfortunately this strategy works.
So Karl's defense is, yeah, he said the lawyers were instructed to file this against me after 28 days. If the initial one wasn't figured out through mediation. Yeah, I waited 6 months to start trying to fund it, but I genuinely thought it was going to happen, and I only waited 6 months because I don't like asking for money. His defense against the characterization that you actually had fucking at least no idea it was coming, or shouldn't have reasonably expected it. His defense is, technically Billy could have still sued me. Put all that aside, he certainly didn't tell the audience he asked for money enough detail. Sorry, he didn't give the audience he asked for money enough detail. All of that should not have been in the dark.
And then guess what Billy does as soon as the statute of limitations expires? He makes a speech at a convention denying the second complaint ever existed. And his proof the second complaint never existed is that if you search for it in the court filings, you won't find it.
Golf Snobby, of course it fucking extends until limitations are reached. Your expectation of it occurring is going to run from that point, though. Waiting 6 months after that suggests to me you don't truly expect it's coming. That's my read.
But then,
my suspicion is that he decided it was useful more than it really being the fucking I need to do it now. It's fucking, look, Billy Mitchell has fucking done this. Look, he's done this. Makes it look like it was fresh. Presents it with an urgency to the audience that he doesn't seem to believe me to believe was involved.
you go on there and you say he's suing me again. He puts up nothing. No proof.
My argument is not, I'm not making an argument. I'm telling you my read. It's a take. It's a vibe. On personal, how should I say? It's my read on behavior.
Anything that he's being sued again. Nothing. There is one complaint in there. And that's the original complaint. So when the attorney sends his attorney a letter and says, your client is fraudulently claiming that we filed a second and third lawsuit against him, you know, that is not right. It's called a letter of concern. Okay? He starts a GoFundMe because the bad boy is suing him again. He needs money. And you.
And yeah, where are the other threats of lawsuits after the second one we need? We need that because he claimed that there was the first one. He said the second defamation lawsuit was sent. It doesn't say filed here. But he also says Billy was threatening further ones after the second.
Are so silly, you hear what he says, and you donate money without any knowledge or any background. And the GoFundMe is at $150,000. Without any knowledge or any...
You hear what he says and you donate money without any knowledge or any background. That's essentially my issue with the GoFundMe. I feel like this is a misrepresentation through omission. This is a misrepresentation through omission of details.
The GoFundMe is at $150,000. $30,000 for the video. You give him $180,000 based upon a lie.
Obviously, you won't find it in the court filings because Billy never filed it. This was always known. And he claims that I said he filed a second and third lawsuit against him, which of course I never did. In my video, I said that
it does appear that you didn't say you filed the second and say he filed the second and third.
Billy said he was planning to file it against me. This GoFundMe is set to cover the rest of my existing lawsuit, plus the new lawsuit that Billy Mitchell says he will be filing.
And the other lawsuits you said you were threatened with. You said Billy threatened you with more than those two.
Shortly after I created the GoFundMe, Charlie made a video talking about Billy's new threats, and he described the situation perfectly.
Hang on. Give me a second. Okay, you need to hold. Sued. Hang on. Give me a moment. What's the date on this? When did the what's the date on the GoFundMe? I don't see the date on it. I don't see the date on it. Oh no, I see it. November 4th, 2022. Alright. Let me roll. We go to 2022. Not that. Okay.
On Mitchell.
Let me just double check this. Answer is yes is the top of the search. Answer is yes. Sorry for the dead air. You will not believe what he has recently done to try to silence me. Hang on. Let me check this real quick. So the video... Is this the one? There's a little detail I'm curious about. What knife is that? You're gonna laugh. It's just a practice knife. You're not... These aren't like... This is legal in the UK. Real ones are not. So... This is the video where he announces the GoFundMe, right?
Being sued, but if I'm still being sued, and the answer is yes. Not only am I still being sued, but as you're about to find out, things have gotten out of hand. Billy Mitchell's compulsive need to threaten and sue people that talk about him has reached all-time highs, and you will not believe what he has recently done to try to silence me.
Is 6 months ago recently?
But before that, I want to give you an idea about how expensive and
I said he implied it had just happened and was super recent. He says in the video it's recent.
Devastating defending a
No, Zara, this video is 2 years ago. This is when the GoFundMe was started. In May was when he was warned he'd be sued if it wasn't resolved within 28 days.
frivolous lawsuit can be. In the past year alone, my legal defense has cost $180,000. Yes, you heard correctly, $180,000. Obviously, I can't get into the specifics, but there are a lot of things that have to happen before trial, and it's all extremely expensive. Now, luckily, I've been in a very fortunate position because I had a couple of people reach out to me and have helped immensely over the past 12 months. Notch, the creator of Minecraft, was very helpful in the beginning and has supported me a lot. And then another gentleman by the name of Julian was extremely generous and funded a huge amount of money. Those guys are absolutely insane, and I will always be in their debt for the help they have provided me. $180,000 is so much money, and I can't even begin to imagine what it would be like for someone who did not have the support system I do to face something like this alone. Which also just highlights how vile and disgusting people are that abuse the legal system to frivolously attack people they want to silence. It is estimated that this lawsuit is going to cost at least another $100,000 before it's over. But things get a lot worse and a lot more stupid from here. Because you see, Billy Mitchell isn't satisfied just suing me once. Oh no, he's going to sue me again. In April of this year, I released a video called Disgraced Gamer Billy Mitchell Accused of Extortion, where I factually and objectively reported on accusations made against Mitchell by the current Donkey Kong World record holder, Robbie Lakeman. If you watched that video, you'll notice that at no point...
We're watching this to see what he says about about timeline. So here, at the start of this video, which was 6 months after what he mentioned in the fundraiser, he said it was recent.
Did I ever give my opinion on the validity of those accusations? I was simply reporting on
I want to see what else he says
claims made by a very noteworthy person, who was also someone that...
Because we could find something... It could be that Karl is unsuccessfully defending himself here, and we could find that Karl actually gave details on exactly when it happened.
Mitchell was using as a defense witness in his own lawsuits. But Mitchell didn't want to sue the person that actually made the claims. No, he wants to sue me just for talking about them. So first, his lawyer sent me a letter saying that the video was defamatory. And after we made it clear that I wouldn't take the video down because all of my statements in the video were literally true, and I wasn't even the person who made the claims he has a problem with, he sent me another $450,000 lawsuit. Now this is already stupid enough, as in my humble opinion, he has absolutely no clear that I wouldn't take the video down because all of my statements in the lawyer sent me a letter saying that the video was defamatory. And after
He sent you a letter saying that the video was defamatory. When was this letter? Is this a different...
lawyer sent me a letter saying that the video was defamatory. And after we made it clear that I wouldn't take the video down because all of my statements in the video were literally true, and I wasn't even the person who made the claims he has a problem with, he sent me another $450,000 lawsuit. Now this is already stupid enough, as
I'm not seeing the date on this one.
in my humble opinion, he has absolutely no case, and this is just an attempt to scare me, but it still gets even worse. Because Billy Mitchell isn't satisfied just suing me twice. Oh no, apparently he wants to go for the hat trick and sue me 3 times. And this latest action is the worst yet, and you couldn't even make this up if you tried.
He was saying the third lawsuit is the most recent. He's saying the third lawsuit is the most recent.
May of this year, I released a video called I Cheated in a Speedrun.
That's the recent thing. So he wasn't referring to the third one at the start of this video.
And I Need to Come Clean, which was a parody video.
That helps him in terms of that having looked really bad.
Where I jokingly made fun of myself for submitting a few cheated scores to a gaming magazine over 20 years ago when I was a kid. Anyone who's watched that video might be wondering what this has to do with Billy Mitchell, as the video wasn't about him, nor did I even talk about him. And that's a valid question. But here is the amazing thing. While it is true that I didn't...
He said this video happened in May. Did he not? In May of this year, I released a video. He's talking about when he released the video that's related to the third lawsuit.
Mention or talk about Billy Mitchell, I did show this clip.
You're familiar with Billy Mitchell, world video game champion? He could probably do it, so I gotta find a way to harness his power, and I think I found a way.
That's right, we're gonna cheat.
This is a meme that was made back in 2020, which has over 4 million views on YouTube and millions of views on Twitter. That's right, in the entire video, I literally did not mention Billy Mitchell at all, or talk about him. I simply randomly threw in this meme of someone else talking as a joke, and Billy Mitchell wants to sue me for this. Shortly after I released that video, his lawyer sent me this letter. And mind you, this isn't just a letter.
Oh wait, no, this is the one. Hang on. So the second... Right. Lawsuit number 2 here is actually the third one. Am I out of my fucking mind?
This is a concerns notice, which is a legal document that you are required to send to someone before you sue them. We act for William Mitchell. This is a concerns notice for the purpose of Section 14, Defamation Act, Queensland 2005. On 13th of September 2021, our client commenced a claim against you for defamation damages in respect to the publication of a video on the digital platform YouTube on or about 26th of May 2021. On 10th of April 2022, you posted on the web a video entitled Disgraced Gamer Billy Mitchell Accused of Extortion, which is the subject of a concerns notice sent to you on 20th of April 2022. On 7th of May 2022, you posted on the web a further video entitled I Cheated in a Speedrun and I Need to Come Clean, which read relevantly as follows. I needed to harness the power of the greatest gamer that ever lived. You're familiar with Billy Mitchell, world video game champion. He could probably do it, so I gotta find...
Real MS of pain. Third thing that Billy Mitchell described as a lawsuit or potential lawsuit is all I'm saying.
A way to harness his power, and I think I found a way. That's right, we are going to cheat. Mr. Mitchell was identified in the publication by his name. The words in their ordinary and natural meaning meant and were understood to mean that Billy Mitchell is a person who defrauds, deceives, or tricks other people and is a swindler. Billy Mitchell is guilty of fraudulently hoodwinking so as to obtain unfair advantage when competing in video games. The words and the imputations are untrue and are grossly defamatory. Yeah, I'm sure they are. The video has been viewed by a substantial number of people and an extensive number of comments have been posted on your YouTube page. Okay. Section 10A of the Defamation Act at the time of your publication requires Mr. Mitchell to establish that your publication has caused or is likely to cause serious harm to his reputation. Oh my lord. Billy Mitchell...
Okay, so this isn't the one. Oh my god. That one isn't the one he's talking about here, because it didn't include the text that we saw previously. It would have been the second one he talks about in this video. But the third one is ostensibly what he calls recent in this video. In this video, he's not calling the second one recent. However, he certainly didn't make it clear that the second one was threatened 6 months ago. This isn't fucking do it on stream shit. This is sit down and figure out for a video shit.
Is a joke. He has become a parody of himself. This letter is nothing short of hilarious, and I would otherwise...
Normally, I'd have a fucking text document up or timeline it in Vegas. It's hard to follow it all just off the top of my nut.
I'd be laughing if not for the fact that this is a real letter written by a real lawyer that my lawyers really had to respond to. I sincerely cannot believe that even he would stoop this low. But just think about this for a moment. The video wasn't about Billy Mitchell at all. I didn't talk about him or mention him. In fact, the video was about me cheating. Established that your publication has caused, or is likely to cause, serious harm to his reputation. Oh my... Mitchell to establish that your public lawyer that my lawyers really had to respond to. I sincerely cannot believe that even he would stoop this low. But just think about this for a moment. The video wasn't about Billy Mitchell at all. I didn't talk about him or mention him. In fact, the video was about me cheating. All I did was include a 10-second meme that I didn't make, that isn't even of me talking, that's an obvious joke, that was released years ago and already has millions of views. And Billy Mitchell started legal action against me, claiming that it's defamation. But
I'm not a lawyer. Does sending someone a notice like that count as starting legal action against someone?
What makes this so much crazier is that Billy Mitchell did cheat. So not only does he want to sue me over...
I actually don't know. Does that count as starting legal action?
...for a meme that someone else made, but he wants to sue me over a meme that someone else made. That's true. And what's ironic is that there are hundreds of comments underneath the YouTube video of this clip of people making fun of Billy, joking, saying that he's going to sue them for posting it. And then he actually does go and threaten to sue me for using that exact clip. This is what I mean when I say he is a parody of himself. People can't even joke about him anymore because he really does act that way. Now, it's all well and good to laugh about how crazy this whole situation is, but unfortunately for me, it comes with huge consequences. I have done absolutely nothing wrong, and I will never be scared into silence by anyone. But until I win in court and defeat this madness, it's going to cost a ton of money. And I'm truly sorry, but I do need help. Maybe if I was the only variable in this whole mess, I could battle my way through it alone. But unfortunately, this affects my entire family too. And psychologically and financially, some help would really benefit.
I think if he was clearer, he'd be less likely to get support, or less likely to get as much money.
It's not only me, but them as well. So I have set up a GoFundMe to help with my fight against Billy Mitchell, and any help would be immensely appreciated. This GoFundMe is set to cover the rest of my existing lawsuit, plus the new lawsuit that Billy Mitchell says he will be filing, plus having to deal with...
And which one is that? I don't think it's necessarily even clear which one he's fucking talking about here.
All of the other bullshit
at this point, because the GoFundMe says there's a second one, and then there are multiple others. Although the GoFundMe does specify a second $450,000 lawsuit. Okay.
Threats that come my way. This is in Australian...
So it must be referring to the second, but I don't think that's clear in the video.
So it's not as large as it seems, but it's still a very significant amount of money that it's going to take to defeat Mitchell. There is light at the end of the tunnel though. In Australian court, generally the loser has to pay a lot of the legal fees of the winning party. So if I eventually win, which does seem extremely likely, Mitchell should have to pay back a lot of money. And I was thinking that in his honor, I could use that money to put on an epic gaming tournament. Perhaps we could call it the Gary Bobby Ferguson Memorial Epic Gaming Event for people who don't cheat in video games or sue people who call them out. I'm not sure, I might have to find a way to shorten it a bit. The next 12 months will not be good for Billy Mitchell. He has his trial against Twin Galaxies coming up, and in my opinion, and in the opinion of anyone who knows the details of Mitchell's cheating, he has absolutely no chance of winning, especially when even more technical evidence showing that he cheated keeps coming out. As if it wasn't already conclusive enough, recently, a huge document from an electrical engineer showed a mountain of new evidence that Billy's story isn't true. And when he loses this lawsuit...
My head's fucking spinning.
This is one of the most baffling reasons for a lawsuit I think I've probably ever heard in general. Now, as I understand it, the second lawsuit hasn't been fully filed yet. Right now, it is still in the letter of intent stage, where they are intending to sue Karl and have sent him the documents to indicate such, but it looks like it is going to be sent in the coming days. In response...
Yeah, Karl made it look like that, didn't he? Karl did make it look like it was fucking imminent when he'd been sitting on that warning for 6 months. The sense of imminence is a key element in getting people to give money fast, more money fast.
On to this, Karl made another video going over just how silly it all is, but also how expensive everything is, and he set up a GoFundMe because he's right now getting dual hand jobs here from Billy Mitchell with the double lawsuit coming in. So he does have a GoFundMe, which I'm going to link below. Please feel free to support him if you'd like to help Karl against an absolutely ruthless villain here.
He clearly says the second lawsuit isn't filed yet, just that they were intending to, and he promotes my GoFundMe on that basis. This video received almost 7 million views, and there was never an issue. From my perspective, I thought everything was quite clear. I sent the script to my lawyers.
The guy thought it was gonna happen in the coming days. It obviously wasn't clear to Charlie that it had been received 6 fucking months ago.
Made sure everything was fine. They said it was fine. We responded to...
Billy's claim was that you weren't even certain it was coming. You made people understand that it was absolutely coming fucking immediately. Clearly wasn't the case.
Billy's lawyer immediately...
It doesn't matter that it could have happened. You didn't present it as something that might happen, it's uncertain, like it's been 6 months. It's been... Like, imagine if his GoFundMe was... Imagine if he'd said, 6 months ago, Billy Mitchell threatened to sue me. He still hasn't done it, but he also hasn't said he's not. And look, if he'd said at the time, imagine, I'm scared as fuck. I'm potentially going to have to defend against this, so I'm asking for money. If that doesn't occur, it will go towards the first lawsuit. And if there's excess, it will go towards this. Imagine if he'd done that instead. Just to illustrate why it's a bit messed up.
Explaining why the GoFundMe was made, after which they never responded or informed us the information was incorrect. Billy never made a public statement saying that what I was saying was wrong, and when Charlie made his video, which received 7 times more views than my video, he explained what was happening exactly as it was, and there was no uproar or backlash or any issue with money.
He said it was coming in the next few days. Do I need to fucking look at Charlie's video? This guy is a joke. Just to check if... I'm not saying Billy Mitchell isn't a joke, to be clear. Right. We're just going to search keywords. Just to see if anything pops up relating.
Have you ever stopped to think how embarrassing it is being...
That scared the shit out of me.
Came back done there.
Uh-oh! Here's the time frame that Moist Critical thought was happening. It was happening in.
Done there. Just 2 weeks ago, Billy Mitchell came back out of the shadows to sue Karl again.
The notice was 6 months prior. He was absolutely under the impression from Karl Jobst that it had just happened. Charlie was absolutely misled. Demonstrably. He thinks, because of the way Karl presented it, that it had just happened.
Even though the previous lawsuit is still ongoing, he is suing Karl again, but this time for an even more outrageous reason.
I'm just peeping keyword. Okay. We're just searching lawsuit. Lawsuit is mentioned 27 times in this video. I'm checking around the context of each statement of lawsuit. Okay, okay. Okay. What else should I search? 2 weeks? No, he says just 2 weeks ago at 1 minute 31. I'm going to grab the timestamp for this. It may be worth talking about in a video. Okay. What else? Searching the word new. What if I search just? Oh god. There are 37 justs. Just fuck my shit up. Whatever. We'll carry on with the Karl video.
Uproar or backlash or any issue with money being raised on that basis. This only seems to be a problem now, 3 years later, after I lost the lawsuit and there is a giant smear campaign going on against me.
Here's the problem. Mr. Jobs testified under oath at trial, quote, "I don't believe anything Billy Mitchell says," end of quote. So apparently the only time Mr. Jobs ever believes me is after 6 months pass without follow-up, and he stands to gain $200,000 from his audience.
Yes, I don't believe anything Billy says, and neither should you. Sending me a physical complaint is not saying something, it's doing something. I could hold the document in my hands and read it. I knew that it existed. When Billy's lawyer tells my lawyers that he had instructions to file the complaint, that is not Billy saying something. That is a lawyer telling another lawyer that they have instructions to do something. I believe that Billy's lawyer was not lying here. In fact, I don't even understand the point Billy is trying to make here. I mean, this is a big deal. My law firm received a complaint and were told it was going to be filed. They took it extremely seriously, as did I. This isn't a game. And Billy's response to me and my team...
And took it extremely seriously, and then you waited 6 months and made everyone think it had just happened.
Taking his lawyer at his word is, yeah, but you said you don't believe anything I say. It's the type of argument a literal child would make. That is the incredible level of intellectual honesty we are dealing with when it comes to Billy.
So apparently the only time Mr. Jobs ever believes me is after 6 months pass without follow-up, and he stands to gain $200,000 from his audience.
What does Billy mean when he says I gained $200,000? Is he trying to imply that I took the money and went down to my local Gucci store or something? There is a reason Billy spent $686,000 in legal fees. It's because I also spent $686,000 in legal
You acquired $200,000 that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise.
Fees. I took all of that money and I used it.
The idea isn't that you're using it to fuck around and buy avocado on toast. He's suggesting what you said was the reason wasn't quite the full reason.
To put up a damn good fight.
At the very least.
To be completely transparent, the total amount of funds that Notch provided me was $300,000. And what I am deeply appreciative of, and will never ever forget, is that even after I lost, Notch was still very supportive. I mean, after Billy, Notch spent the most money out of anyone. It is because of Notch and because of the GoFundMe donors that I was able to stand up to Billy like I did.
So you did need it just for the first one, right?
I didn't do things cheaply. I did as much as I could. I spent $150,000 of my own money as well on top of the money I received. This was not a profit-making exercise, but I can assure you that money didn't go to waste. If you are unhappy you donated to the GoFundMe because I lost, or because you feel as though that money ultimately ended up in Billy's hands because he won, then understand that that is completely...
What if because they think they were misled? As Moist Critical apparently
untrue.
Was.
It is because of the people that donated to my GoFundMe and supported my defense that Billy lost $500,000 despite winning. Without the support I received, I wouldn't have been able to defend myself, and Billy would have just steamrolled right over me.
Right, so Billy's correct when he suggests that you would not have been able to defend yourself on that first lawsuit without pulling what you did in November.
Hardly spending anything on legal fees himself, and then he would have just moved on to the next person because he would have learned nothing. Because of the public support I received, despite winning, Billy still got destroyed, and I would be very surprised if Billy ever sued anyone ever again.
Based upon Mr. Jobs...
Nah, check his Twitter, he's suing pretty much everyone.
I lost video. It appears that he plans to dispute the factual findings of the judgment.
I was considering doing a full video covering all of the lies Billy said in court, but since then I had changed my mind.
Remember that despite all these allegations that he hurls with inflammatory languages, it is ultimately him who the court found to not be a credible witness. Let's review an example of this in his I Lost video. He says this.
I will say one thing, though. The judge found Billy Mitchell to be a credible witness, and essentially accepted his full oral testimony as fact, despite our many attempts to show that Billy is a liar.
It's the do. It's the haircut. He's got hair like an American eagle. That's actually legally recognized. It's like in the UK, the fucking wigs.
For example, we have Billy on video in 2023 during his Twin Galaxies deposition saying that the effect I've had on him is minimal.
Did the actions that Karl Jobst and David Race and Jeremy Young and Jeff Harris take also cause you emotional distress?
That is minimal compared to this. At that moment in my deposition, I was discussing the allegations related to video games, not Apollo Legend.
This is entirely false. You see, in my video, I shortened the clip for brevity's sake, but let's listen to what was said immediately beforehand.
Are there any alternative stressors that you've had in your life that are affecting you now?
He's not bankrupt? What do you mean? He literally is bankrupt. He's literally bankrupt, is he not?
Just this? And what is the result of this?
Oh, and the other lawsuits, though, right?
Oh, you mean like things that resulted from this, like Karl Jobst?
As in literally declared bankruptcy?
David Race? Yes, very much.
They're also causing you emotional distress?
Well, they're not making me happy.
No, I'm asking, though, did the actions that Karl Jobst and David Race and Jeremy Young and Jeff Harris take also cause you emotional distress?
That is minimal compared to this.
Why?
Because this is where it all began.
As you can see, they were discussing lawsuits, not video games, lawsuits. Billy likes to lie and say whatever will help him in any particular context, even if it will hurt him in a different context. In his deposition, the lawyer asked, is there any other stresses that are affecting you now?
Yeah, but I feel like you two might have something in common.
Billy says no, because in the Twin Galaxies lawsuit, he wants to make it seem like Twin Galaxies was doing all of the damage.
Are there any alternative stressors that you've had in your life that are affecting you now?
Yeah, sure, yeah. If you meant bankrupt, as in colloquially broke, sure.
And what is the result of this?
But then the lawyer reminds him of the other lawsuits, and explicitly says lawsuits, to which Billy replies Karl Jobst and David Race.
Just this? And what is the result of this?
Oh, and the other lawsuits, though, right?
Oh, you mean like things that resulted from this, like Karl Jobst and David Race?
Now, both of these lawsuits have nothing to do with video games, as admitted by Billy Mitchell himself. And Billy even shows a clip of himself saying my lawsuit has nothing to do with video games.
What about Karl Jobst? Why are you suing him?
Karl Jobst has nothing to do with video games. He's being sued because he's blaming the death of an individual, Apollo Legend, on me.
You're suing him for defamation for making that claim?
Has nothing to do with video games.
And the same applies to David Race.
Why are you suing Mr. Race?
Okay. I'm suing him because he illegally recorded 27 phone calls between he and I.
The line of questioning was never about video game scores. It was about lawsuits. But Billy lies about what the line of questioning was about because he doesn't show the full context.
Despite hearing my explanation, my deposition testimony at the trial, and despite reading the judgment's reasoning for accepting my testimony on this issue, he just omits everything and presents his position as fact.
It would take about 10 hours to cover all of the lies Billy spouted during our trial. I might do a full video in the future, but I'm really not sure how many people want to hear my side of the story at this point, so I don't know if I ever will. But let me give you a few quick examples, seeing as though Billy decided to bring it up. Let's talk about appearances. In my trial, Billy claimed that the Twin Galaxies announcement, the one he sued them for over $1 million, made him lose 1 appearance.
Now, after Twin Galaxies made that announcement, was there any impact on the number of appearances you were receiving, or invitations to do appearances?
The announcement hurt me for a short time. There was, I mean, off the top of my head, I can think of one place that called and canceled. There were a couple that just stopped communicating. But as far as the number of appearances that I got, no.
A single appearance. And in that lawsuit, he claimed he lost all of these appearances. He even specifically claimed in my trial that the Midwest Gaming Expo and the Southern Fried Gaming Expo kept their agreements they had in place.
Some places, immediately after that Midwest Classic Gaming Expo and the Southern Fried Gaming Expo, they kept their agreements that they had in place with me.
But in the lawsuit against Twin Galaxies, he specifically claimed that he lost those appearances. The point is that he was trying to downplay the damage that Twin Galaxies did in order to claim that his reputation was fantastic at the time that I made my video. And it was entirely my fault that he could no longer get appearances. In my trial, he said that up until my video, he was doing 15 to 20 appearances per year. But after my video, he was only able to do 1.
And so after the Guinness publication, do you recall how many events you would be doing each year at that time?
Yes, during that time, like I said before, if I did 20 events, 15 were paid events. So, yeah, 15 to 20.
And that was at the end of, so the end of, say, from 2020 through to mid-2021. Is that the period you're talking about?
Correct.
To be clear, when you were talking 15 and 20 then, when are you talking that was occurring?
That was occurring up until, May of 2021.
Right, and so come back, after May 2021, how many paid appearances have you made at these conventions or expos?
Like I said, I think I've had the opportunity at less than a half a dozen. I think, am I really going to say one? I mean, I got one that comes to mind. It was a paid appearance.
But the reality is that Billy made 0 appearances in the 12 months before my video. His last appearance before my video was January 2020, and he had not done a single appearance since then. His first appearance since January 2020 was an appearance at the Music City Multicon in October 2021. Listen to this news report from that same event.
Man dubbed the video game player of the century was in Lebanon.
I'm starting to snooze. Sure, I presume this is going to be accurate, to be honest. That fucking Billy was maximizing the appearance of damage. Sure, whatever.
This weekend at Music City Multicon, Billy Mitchell set out to beat every level of Pac-Man and also walk away with a perfect score. News Channel 5's Hannah McDonald was there for Mitchell's first appearance since the pandemic started.
It literally says his first appearance since the pandemic began, which of course is true. And Billy provided no actual evidence that he was doing 15 to 20 appearances per year in my trial. He just said it. And despite no physical evidence, the judge fully believed him and fully accepted his oral testimony as truth, even though it was a complete lie. And what's saddening to me is that I told my barrister to show this news clip which proves Billy was lying, but he refused to do so. Another example, and of course this isn't an exhaustive list, is John Weeks. Billy showed this email in court, which is apparently from John Weeks apologizing for not being able to host Billy at his pinball auction due to my video. And he testified that he lost this gig because of me.
Did you receive any contact from people that had...
Yeah, I'm sure Billy is kind of a scumoid. Hang on. I want to skip this part, but I don't know how. As in, obviously, I know how to skip forward. This bit, I'll just go, yeah, I'm sure he did fucking try to maximize the appearance of damages beyond what was reasonable. Sure. He's still talking about John Weeks a few minutes later. Talking about reputation a few minutes later still. Hang on. Oh, this is maybe slightly more interesting one.
Fibrillation and hernia because of the stress caused by twin galaxies. But in my trial, he said his stress and atrial fibrillation was caused by me.
You attributed the atrial fibrillation on the stress caused by twin galaxies litigation.
Okay, it's caused by stress.
I'm asking you whether you attributed that stress.
I don't know. I don't think the twin galaxy stress is nothing compared to this.
Sorry, the twin galaxy stress, I'll get this right. The twin galaxy stress
does not compare to this.
No, you said is nothing compared to this.
It doesn't compare to this.
Okay. Okay.
Atrial fibrillation is caused by stress. Okay, was there some stress there? Yes.
I'm going to scan the transcript. Let's see if there's anything more that I'd be interested in. Like, it doesn't matter how bad Billy is to me. Unless it's bad in a funny way. The atrial fibrillation thing, blaming it on Karl, is kind of funny, I guess, but... Okay... Yada, yada, yada. Let's try jumping to here. This might be fun.
What kind of plaintiff spends 3 years and $500 million suing someone over a statement that was immediately removed and retracted?
On May 5th, 2025, at 3:02 a.m., Mr. Jobs wrote on Discord, "There are 2 videos that need to be made. One talking about the hot sauce company, one talking about how Billy needs to stand on things to make himself look taller in photos. Karl,
That's what
I'm
I want.
6'6". I don't need to do anything to look taller. I've taken thousands of photos of different types with
Here
fans
we
since
go.
1982.
Here we go.
Some very serious, some nothing but fun. Meanwhile, you're 5'7". Cope harder. Try not to stretch the truth."
I must admit that Billy has me by the balls here. This one I got wrong. Ironically again, this Discord message was just a joke. I wasn't really going to make a video about how Billy stands on things to make himself look taller. But after Billy brought it up, I realized that if people did take my comment seriously, and people came away thinking that Billy stands on things to make himself look taller, then that would certainly be defamation. This is one of the worst things you could ever say about...
No, I wanted it to be fucking true. What the fuck?
Another man. And because I don't want to defame Billy anymore, I need to set the record straight. Billy does...
It's gonna be... There we go. Thank God. Thank fuck.
Not stand on things to make himself look taller. For the record, I never said Billy was short. In fact, he's obviously very tall, and therefore he would not need to stand on anything to look taller. You can see from this picture, he is a few inches...
Is that fucking WPC?
Taller than his peers. So the notion that he would do this is really silly, and I am sorry that I spread...
Pan down, pan down, pan down. He's on a stool, right?
But
He's
there
on
has
a fucking...
been some fake news being spread online about Billy
I'm real
in this regard,
disappointed.
which I feel like I need to address and clear up. Take, for example, this picture. It looks like Billy is standing on a paint can to look taller. While everyone else is happy to just stand on the ground like normal people, Billy felt the need to...
Karl, if you started with this, I'd be on your fucking side regardless, okay?
Stand on a can of paint. But this photo has clearly been... photoshopped. Here is the real photo. And as you can see, Billy doesn't need to stand on the paint can because he's already so tall. So while he does stand on the paint can, it's not because he needs to, as Billy is already a very tall man. Billy is way taller than me. Let me make that very clear. Billy is taller, and that makes him better. There is also a very misleading video going around.
Yeah, but unironically.
That people are claiming shows Billy standing on a roll of duct tape to make himself look taller, and I need to dispel this awful rumor as well. During this group photo, there is a roll of duct tape that Billy locks eyes onto, and he decides to grab it. Now, Billy is a very tall man, so he doesn't need to stand on anything to look taller. It appears as though dropping the roll of duct tape made a loud noise, and startled Billy, causing him to look away and act as if it wasn't him.
He's fucking sneaking it! Solid snake here. Karl, what the fuck? Go into YouTube Studio, literally delete everything but this 3-second segment, and you win forever. Regardless of anything else, you win. Literally, just have your only statement. Have the intro to this video where you're like, I'm going to tell you everything that matters. I'm going to make sure you have all the important details, and then I'm never going to talk about him again. And then drop this 2-minute video.
But it's not because what he is doing is weird. Standing on a roll of duct tape in a group photo is very common in some cultures. As you can still see, Billy is a very tall man. In fact, it looks like he's the tallest person there. Everyone else on the stage, despite being shorter than Billy, is just happy to stand on the stage normally. So of course, Billy wouldn't need to stand on anything because he is already so tall. Now that we are almost ready to take the photo, Billy makes sure the roll of tape is in the correct position and stands on it to take the photo. But this is not because he needs to look taller. It's actually because earlier on, Billy noticed that the structural integrity of the floor was compromised, and the duct tape ensured his weight was distributed evenly. Billy does not stand on things to make himself look taller. In this group photo, while everyone else is happy to stand on the stage normally, and even though Billy is the tallest person there, Billy stands on a toolbox so that he's a foot taller than everyone else. But this is not to look taller. I repeat, Billy, despite being much taller than the person in front of him, did not stand on a toolbox to make himself look taller. Honestly, Billy understates how tall he really is, because he is actually...
To be fair, that one just gives the impression that he's... If you thought he was actually that tall, that's freak show territory.
Over 7 feet tall. Sometimes he's even 8 feet tall. But it's not because he stands on things to make himself look taller. Billy does not stand on things to make himself appear taller, even when standing next to short people either. Clearly there was no space here to do a proper group photo, so Billy was forced to stand on the curb. Billy Mitchell is a very tall man, and being tall makes you a better person. So Billy wouldn't...
Yeah, but that part's true. Obviously.
Need to stand on a paint can, or a roll of tape, or a toolbox to make himself tall.
You're saying the second part jokingly, but it's true.
I sincerely apologize for spreading these disgusting false rumors.
Esoteric dimension. Thank you.
Take my
he's got this video.
Appreciate it.
And I know it's almost 3 hours of a live stream. I'm not gonna watch the whole thing, but the thumbnail caught my eye because it says, well, the title of it says, Karl Jobst threatens to report my channel to YouTube and YouTube partner. And in his Discord, and people, shout out to you guys last night telling me about this because I didn't know about it. Karl Jobst said, I will report him to YouTube. I will speak with my YouTube partner. And I'm like, bro, how many L's do you need to take? Like, yikes. You're not winning the community back if your response to losing a lawsuit and declaring bankruptcy is, now I'm going to start trying to report and take channels down that talk about me. Like, that's...
He honestly looks like a supervillain.
Right? Right?
Wow, this seems really bad. I am going after small creators and trying to take their channels down, just for talking about me.
Careful complaining about that thumbnail being misleading, even if it is, because... Contrast that. You like to do a lot of comparisons between yourself and Billy. Contrast that between the misleading way in which you solicited money.
really must be evil. According to Reddit, I was threatening to report someone just for making videos about me, the same way that I do to other people. This is horrible. I have truly become the villain. Their evidence is a Discord message where I said I would report someone. This evidence is really damning. I mean, it doesn't explain why I was reporting someone or the details, but surely what people are saying is true. Surely I was just after blood. I wanted to report smaller channels because they talked about me, and I don't like that.
Or did he threaten you?
This has to be true because someone said it was. But let's take a look at what really happened. My Discord message was in relation to the channel LUS. From the time of the verdict to when I posted this message, LUS had uploaded 52 videos about me. That is more than one video.
Don't care. Depends on the content of the video.
Every single day. And it's true that all of his videos are critical of me. However, this isn't why I said I would report his channel.
Good. Let's see what it is.
You can upload as many videos about me as you want. I don't really care. All of those 52 videos are full of lies. He just makes things up and spouts them as fact. For example, remember how I checked with my lawyers before posting my GoFundMe to make sure I was describing things correctly? Well, here is LUS spreading the lie that I never checked with my lawyers.
So if Karl had any question about this and how he should phrase the terminology, he can go straight to his very expensive lawyers that Knots was paying or some confusion about what was happening and ask, hey, I'm confused. How many times have we actually been sued? And is there a docket number? The court, he's smart enough and he has the resources to understand that he was only really sued once. And the argument he's trying to make about lying and so on. So here, I think it is, Karl has only been about money. Karl will tell you this. You don't need to look at this. Karl has many, many quotes about me being about money, 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 money.
Remember how I made a settlement offer to Billy early in the lawsuit? And
Right. Who is this LUS guy? Just like a sneeded Asian man?
In fact, I was the only...
Let me look him up. Because he came up earlier as well. Sue Ethan Klein fundraiser could send donors to prison for 20 years. It's a fucking... Come on. This is a dementoid. This is a fucking dementoid.
Only person to try and settle. Here is LUS spreading the lie that I never tried to settle.
This has been my clear belief all along, and Billy Mitchell's response video alludes to it as well. Billy Mitchell has settled. Settlement is not a law. Settlement is...
Worst ending! Face in yellow circle. In the hospital. It's that thing where... if someone's just like a fucking nut, can you really reasonably claim that a reasonable person would take them seriously in any statement they make?
A win for both parties. Both parties should be encouraged to settle. Let me put it this way. Your lawyer should encourage you to settle. The opposing counsel's lawyer should be telling their clients to settle. The judge tells them to settle. There are mediation that has to be done. That means the court system makes you try to settle. I do not know why Karl Jobs did not settle on this case.
Remember how I told Billy before going bankrupt that I would be going bankrupt, and I made an offer that would give him twice as much money as he otherwise would have gotten? An offer Billy declined. Here is LUS spreading the lie that I never attempted to make such an offer.
At the end of the day, in many of these situations, the difference between Billy Mitchell and Karl Jobs is that there's such animosity coming from Karl Jobs. There's such hatred coming from him. He just can never come to settlement. But in many of these other cases, it's a car dealership. They have probably at any given times 30, 40, 50 outstanding loans on leases that they are not collecting. And so it's not personal. It's just business. And that's the way it should be. Can we conclude a amount of money that is more than you would like to pay, Karl, but less than I would receive, less than I should have received otherwise. So both parties have to endure some pain. Karl does not want to take responsibility, and he does not want to endure any pain. So he thinks bankruptcy is the best option for him, which I will tell you it is not. At least in the US, it is not.
At the very beginning of the lawsuit, Notch was paying my lawyers directly, and this was being handled by Notch's assistant. After several months, his assistant indicated that she wanted to stop supporting, at which time I messaged Notch through Twitter, which was how I connected with him in the first place. I wanted to let him know what happened and to confirm if he really did want to stop paying, though ultimately he didn't read my message and it's been sitting on sent ever since. This meant that I had to find money elsewhere. Here is LUS spreading the lie that I never contacted Notch after he stopped supporting.
Right, you needed to find money elsewhere. So you pulled the 6-month-old stuff out of your ass and made it look like it was fresh so people would be excited. So Billy was right.
Reporting me, and that the GoFundMe shouldn't have been made because I should have just reached out to Notch.
Now, the GoFundMe thing is pretty bizarre because Notch paid 3 months, right? And
Billy suggested you did it because... Billy's suggestion was... You didn't really believe there was a lawsuit imminent. You weren't as certain as you presented yourself to be. You did it because Notch stopped funding you. Now he's explaining he did it because Notch stopped funding him.
And his manager, so Notch says, hey manager, I want you to pay for this guy's case. His manager pulls a plug, and according to Karl, he does...
Am I fucking missing something? I know Karl tried to say, well, I don't like to ask for money, and that's why I waited 6 months. Sounds like you didn't ask for money because it was being bankrolled by Notch and you presumed it would continue to be. Right? Sounds to me like you assumed Notch was going to keep helping you. He stopped, and then you were like, what's the strongest way I can ask for money? Well, there's the threat of this coming. Let's make it look fresh.
Notch does not know the manager has pulled a plug, but Karl in 1 year is stressed out. He's going to do GoFundMe's, right, for $200,000. He never actually recontacts Notch. Well, the first thing I would do is contact Notch and say, hey, man, I really appreciate all the help, and I don't know why you can't help me anymore, but I appreciate the help that you've already given me. Do you have any spare time to talk? And then we get the Camelot interview where he announces that Notch is back in, and he didn't even know that Karl's legal bills were not being paid. So Karl at this time had raised an additional $200,000 from his own fans that I don't think had to be raised. I think you just raise your hand and say, hey, Notch, thanks for all the help. Please contact me if you ever feel like helping me again.
Well, you can raise as much money as you fucking want. It doesn't matter whether it needs to be, raised or not. The problem would be is if he was in any way misleading.
Could go on and on, but you get the idea. He just makes things up out of thin air and claims them as fact, and they are always conveniently designed to paint the worst possible picture of me. Even still, this is not the reason I said I would report his channel.
Okay.
There are tons of creators making videos that are full of lies about me, and I haven't said a word about them or done anything. This is part of being a successful YouTuber,
What did he
especially
do?
one that just...
Yeah, what is it going to be then? What did this guy fucking do? I'm actually... This might be the most interesting part of the whole video for me, because I'm actually excited to find out. What is it?
Lost a lawsuit. You can lie about me all you want, and the worst thing that will happen is that I will make a video response. But then LUS wasn't satisfied just going after me. He started defaming my wife, calling her a criminal, saying that she will go to jail, inciting his viewers to attack her and report her to the government.
If this is real, if he was sued, he lost, then he had his wife buy his equity in a home so he doesn't pay Billy Mitchell, and he's admitting so on Discord. We are crossing the line of criminal right now. Wang, who's Karl's wife.
Why is he doing the Chinese takeaway voice so loud?
Which I proved to you, born in China. I have all the information, right? I'm not going to reveal it. Wife be going to jail too. Your wife,
I think Miss Wong might be Chinese.
Wife is going to jail too. We need to send these to the bankruptcy court. We need to send this video to the bankruptcy court. I need to get in touch with the bankruptcy court.
This is an innocent person, mind you, who has done absolutely nothing wrong. This is why I said I would report him, after he started going after an innocent person simply because she is my wife. And because of LUS encouraging his audience to falsely report her, people did try to stop her from buying the house. They tried to stop an innocent mother from keeping...
I wonder if LUS is fucked up enough to be interesting to look at.
The family home for herself and her son. At the time, the trustee and my wife were in negotiations for her to purchase the property, and because of LUS and his audience who reported her, negotiations were delayed as the trustee needed to investigate the reports. Thankfully, LUS only managed to delay things for a day or two. The trustee looked into the reports, they read my Discord conversation, realized that all I was doing was accurately describing what would happen, and then they accepted the offer. But for a day or two, my wife was extremely stressed and upset. So congratulations, LUS, you made an innocent woman cry. I guess that means you've achieved something. This is why
I think my girlfriend gets stressed when I post videos.
I said I would report his channel. And isn't it rich how LUS and his audience reporting me and my wife is seen as a good thing, but me reporting LUS is considered evil? They actively tried to prevent my wife and son from keeping their home. Their goal was to make them lose everything. And this is seen as noble. Their hate for me has clouded their moral judgment so
I think this fucking guy just looks crazy, personally.
much that disgusting acts like
that would be my take.
This are applauded. And
I would agree. LUS does appear to be a nutto freak. A dementoid as we call them here.
any attempt from me to protect myself or my family makes me a villain. But you know what's beautiful about this situation? Just 13...
Hang on.
Protect myself or my family makes me a villain.
It's not protecting your family, it's vengeance. It's retaliation. Which I can empathize with. Getting rid of his YouTube channel doesn't protect you from further reports and, like, you know, fucking with you. It doesn't do anything to protect you. Just say what it was. You were fucking pissed that he had fucked with your wife. You were fucking angry that you fucked with your wife. I can empathize. If you fuck with Lucky Bee, I'll hurt you in real life. To be clear. By whatever means I can.
But you know what's beautiful about this situation? Just 13 minutes after saying I would report him, I took it back and said I wouldn't take any action. And just an hour later...
I almost had respect for you, Karl. On the grounds of something I could empathize with. Feelings I could empathize with.
I clarified again that I wasn't going to report his channel.
Literally haven't changed my situation in 5 years, and when you go bankrupt, if you try to hide or transfer things as affordable transaction, to accuse me intentionally doing that is just unarguable defamation. I won't take action on it given the fact I've accused others of crimes before too. This sounds like you're talking about not going after him for defamation.
For a grand total.
Was there anything else between those two messages? If this was immediately afterwards, obviously it's about reporting to YouTube. I will report him to YouTube. I will speak with my YouTube partner. I literally haven't changed my situation in 5 years. Oh no. Okay. I guess probably what happens before the first message at the top makes it clear that this is about the YouTube thing. It does seem to be about the YouTube thing. Remember when Leafy got banned for making vids on Pokemon? Look, I won't report him. That one is clearly.
Of 13 minutes, my threat of reporting him was legitimate. And honestly, I still think I have a pretty good reason to report his channel. But I didn't, and I won't, and I explained why. But I suppose the reality that I considered reporting LUS for 13...
You said to your Discord, though, I will not report him, but you probably totally could.
minutes, and then said that I wouldn't after he posted daily videos about me for a month and a half full of defamatory lies, culminating in him falsely calling my wife and I criminals and inciting his audience to falsely report us to the government in an attempt to stop my wife and son from keeping their home, isn't as fun or entertaining as Karl is taking down small YouTube channels because they talked about him.
Yeah, hey babe. It looks like he was certainly talking about the channel.
So that's the narrative these people run with. It's pretty telling how a simple comment like, my wife will buy me out, can result in such vitriolic and immoral behavior. This is why it has been very difficult for me to separate legitimate criticism from bad faith actors. My wife buying my house was not only standard procedure and illegal, but it was a positive thing for her and our son. Did LUS want my son to be homeless? Or did he just not consider the ramifications of his actions? When trying to defend himself, LUS...
My wife will eat me out, says Heglau. I'm gonna be real. I keep thinking the same thing every time he says it.
Claimed that all he was doing was repeating what I said.
I mean, this is Karl's own fucking words, my dudes.
My dudes!
Karl, if I read back your words to you, and you are offended, do not say your words then. If what I'm reading back to you is so offensive, you have to shut down this channel. Right? What is wrong with you?
This is fascinating, because I don't remember saying that what I was doing was illegal. I don't recall calling myself a criminal, and I certainly don't...
If you're having a serious fight with a guy who talks like this, and like you're genuinely like butting heads for reals, I feel like that's an L in and of itself.
Recall reporting myself to the government. Nothing I ever said indicated that what I was doing was nefarious. This was entirely you, and yet you don't even see it. Or is it just that you're feigning ignorance? Even things that happened well before I was sued are treated as some kind of evil plot. For example, my wife is an extremely intelligent and educated woman with a degree in accounting. She is the person who created our company, and she does all of the bookkeeping and taxes. She essentially runs the business. She takes care of everything that isn't directly related to making content. That's why she is a director and the secretary of the company. But listen to how LUS describes it.
Okay.
Karl thought he was being really smart, right? When he made his wife the director and the secretary. Okay? Karl thought he was being really smart, right? So let me show you this. Let me show you something. You have two jobs open. One of them is director, and one of them is secretary for the Karl Jobs gaming company. So Karl thought he was really smart, and he didn't put his name here.
According to LUS, my wife is just a dumb bimbo slave without agency that I forced into those roles as a placeholder for some unexplained criminal reason. Mind you, the company was created well before I was even sued and had nothing.
Karl, you're actually fighting a Dementoid like he's a legitimate interlocutor.
To do with it. Not only is what LUS said disgustingly insulting to my wife, but it just makes no sense on any logical level. And for the record,
like you're even like, you know, going above and beyond to recharacterize what he's saying. Like,
I was a director too.
You don't need
However,
to do
you
this.
aren't allowed to be a
You
director
don't need to
when
do
you're
this.
bankrupt. This is a legal restriction. So on the same day that I went bankrupt, I had to resign as a director. This is even outlined in the trustees' report. However, because LUS is so...
Am I going to cover the Willie Mack video, or am I sweeping for Destiny? The last thing I heard about Destiny and was aware of was the sex tape leak thing. There's some doxing stuff. I absolutely know fucking nothing about what any of this stuff is.
Ignorant about everything and fills in every single gap in his knowledge with Karl is evil, he claims that my wife being the sole director is just another scheme to avoid consequences. Given how LUS has falsely accused my wife of being a criminal and has labeled her as just a dumb slave, I'm curious to see if he has the balls and integrity to make an official retraction. Or perhaps he's just another fucking hypocrite.
He apparently has. I saw one on his channel.
The director is Wong. That is his wife. Again, I'm not going to touch his wife. I'm not going to talk about his wife in this because it would be unfair to Karl's wife. Not because it would be unfair to Karl, but because it would be unfair to his wife, okay? I do know the wife's background. She has a LinkedIn. Wong, who's Karl's wife, which I proved to you, born in China. I have all the information, right? I'm not going to reveal it. I'm not going to disclose very much about Karl's wife because I want to keep Karl's wife out of this. Karl Jobst is married to his wife, blank blank Wong. They are joint tenants. And
Karl Jobst is married to his wife?
Again, this is the Wong, right? This is the right Wong. This is his wife, who didn't take his last name, right? But whatever, right? She does have an American name. So she does have an official American name, which I didn't present to you. Forget Karl's. Hypothetically, if you involve your wife...
Did this motherfucker just say hypothetically? Let's go... Hang on. We need to go to normal speed.
The official American name, which I didn't present to you. Forget Karl's. Hypothetically.
Hypothetically.
If you involve your wife into moving assets, buying assets, whatever it is, and it turns out to be illegal, your wife be going to jail too. Your wife is going to jail too. But
your wife be going to jail.
Here's what I'm saying, man. Why the fuck you bring your wife into this? I would never bring my significant other into this. Yeah, Karl's wife is still a Wong. W-O-N-G. So Karl's wife is not a Jobst. Yeah, she kept her Chinese last name. She has an American name. So she has actually an American name, which I'm not going to tell you guys. And anyone who says it, I'm just going to delete them, right? I'm just going to, even if you're a big fan of mine, because it's not right to involve your family. But she has changed her name. Karl's wife did change her name from a Chinese first name to an American first name, but she didn't change her last name. So that's interesting. Let's see who the office holders are. It's Wong. Again, this is Karl's wife. She was born in China.
Okay.
For some reason, I thought she was not Chinese, but from one Chinese person to another Chinese person, if you want someone to talk to, reach out to me, Wong.
This guy is so fucking demented. Like, yeah, Karl, like, you're showcasing a fucked up person.
And we can talk, right?
My wife is not going to reach out to you, bro. She thinks you are a disgusting creep. This has been a very...
Like, it's a guy on the internet who has stuff wrong with him, like, very
long video. But to quickly summarize, I was an idiot during the lawsuit. Despite winning, Billy lost $500,000. The money earned from this channel does not go to Billy. The GoFundMe was not a scam, and Billy is still a lying con man. Thank you to everyone who has continued to enjoy my videos. There is a ton of fun content on the way. Thank you to everyone who sent messages of support. Even if I haven't replied, I have still read and appreciate them all. Thank you for watching, you legends. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video.
Was that fucking Spelunky music at the end? I feel like I'm losing it. Yeah, that's enough. That's enough. I've had enough, Karl Jobst.
As you've heard...
I don't think there's a video from me in that. I think the only thing I'd really want to talk about is he totally did give people the impression that the Billy Mitchell stuff had just happened, and in fact... Moist Critical, who he said perfectly represented what was happening, said that Billy came along with this 2 weeks prior when Jobs put up the video because he thought Jobs was saying it just happened when it was really 6 months prior to that. That's not a video's worth. And I feel like most of it's a snooze. So I don't know. Maybe I'll change my mind. Maybe something will come to mind. But I hope you had a fun time watching through that with me on 1.25 speed and then 1.5 speed. I'll be back on Friday. The scary thing about LUS is that, like, he's competent enough of a human being that if you fucked with him the wrong way, you might get, like, pushed in front of a train or something. I feel like he's one of those guys. Anyway, thank you for the viewership, companionship, incredible generosity, all the subs and donors and stuff and bits and whatnot. I'll be back on Friday. It's the end of the stream on week. Until then, good night. Sleep tight. Don't let the Rickies bite.